It is 6:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Tennessee struggles continue, losing last night at Texas A&M, 68-63 in men's college basketball. The Aggies went 28 of 34 from the free throw line. Santiago Vescovi and Zakai Ziegler each had 14 points for the Vols, who have lost 5 of their last 7 games. Alabama freshman Brandon Miller brought a teammate the handgun that was used to kill a woman last month. That's according to police in Tuscaloosa. A detective testified in a preliminary hearing that Miller provided the weapon to Darius Miles, who is facing capital murder charges. Miller will not be charged. Alabama's head coach Nate Oats said yesterday that the school had been aware of Miller's alleged link to the case. To the NHL, Nashville defeated Vancouver in a shootout 5-4 last night at Bridgestone Arena. The Preds had surrendered a 4-2 lead but got the win in the shootout. Baseball yesterday, college style. Number 3 Tennessee defeated Alabama A&M 10-0 in 8 innings to win their home opener. Number 10 Vanderbilt lost its home opener to Central Arkansas 5-4. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Off and running on the Wednesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, where Tennessee drops another one in the Lone Star State. The Tennessee Titans make an official hire on the offensive side of the football. More insight on that, and it's running backs day with Rhett B. Some RBs with our RB of Titans Radio this morning in your middle of the week. Alongside 11-year NFL veteran and Vol for life, Ramon Foster.
Yay.
Our capitalized J journalist, Kayla Anderson, and the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer.
The best producer in the world.
I'm Will Bowling. Very good morning. Wednesday, February the 22nd. And yes, it's Groundhog Day. Tennessee missed a bunch of shots and lost a basketball game.
They had me early, Will. They had me early. I was excited. Like, look at this team. And I'll give them credit for that, though. Early on, that's the team we're looking for.
Yeah, they battled in the first half, that's for sure. But, as Rick Barnes said, good effort, but not good enough. And that seems to be the theme as of late, losing 5 of 7. So they really need their 2 guys back, like we were saying yesterday, guys. They really need them back. Good effort.
That's what I was looking for right
Great
there
effort.
eventually.
Yeah, tough one.
Great effort.
Toughy, but again, it goes to what Ron and Brian Rice kind of said yesterday. We've all talked about it. One, they need a guy. The biggest deficiency, the lack of being able to score.
Yeah.
Like, not even, like, being able to score, like, aggressively trying to score. Like, it's so many times. I was, even my youngest, we were watching the games, like, he said it, and I just took it as a condescending type of thing. He's like, man, their pump fakes are really good. I'm like, yeah, they should shoot the damn ball, though. It's like, you're right, Miles. The pump fakes are good. How many pump fakes did they have? They had like 3 or 4 24-second violations, or 30. Is it 30 seconds in 24? 30? 30. 30-second violations. Like, how does this happen? I think it was 3 times last night, unless I missed another one. And I'm just like, I'm over the pump fakes. Either you shoot the shot or you don't, because now you get nothing. We don't even see the attempt anymore. You just got the violation. It's just silly, man.
Missed shots, bad late game management, and bad shot selection. That's all we've seen from this team over the last 2 months. And look, good effort season is over. You got to win games now.
Yeah.
Being able to say, valiant effort on the road against a team that hasn't lost an SEC game at home is a fair way to perceive that game. But that's how you can look at that game in a vacuum. Compared to the rest of the results this team has had over the past couple of months, you needed one to kind of kickstart you back into gear, and they weren't able to get that.
They weren't able to get it. And not just that, the way they allowed Texas A&M to score, too. Like, their guys going through the paint, dunking down the middle of the plane as far as their bigs, and then their point guard being able to go off the dribble on the transition defense and just get fouls or either get points down the lane also. It was almost silly to kind of see. And then, like I said, again, yourself be presented with shot opportunities and you don't take those. You don't make those also. I'm saying guys look like they're taking shots out of, necessity to try to at least get the ball up in the air. They're too selfless. Like, again, that's the biggest issue to me. It's somebody take over, but their methods of taking over looked very pedestrian last night.
And this is not the time of the year that you want to be dealing with these issues, because the one thing about Tennessee basketball in the past few years is, they've gone through some down periods, but for the most part, they've been really consistent during the regular season. And this is really a big chunk where we've not seen as much of this in terms of the losing and losing at this time. Now, that doesn't go to say anything, because when they were somewhat consistent, then in the tournament, they seem to fall off.
Yeah.
So you wonder, okay, would this be the opposite situation if they can get their two guys back and get things going towards the end of the year? But right now, on any given day, guys, I don't know what to think about this Tennessee team, if it's going to be a win or a loss. I mean, even with Missouri coming up on Saturday?
Saturday is not Missouri. It's Arkansas.
Arkansas, yes.
Arkansas, South Carolina, and Auburn, the final 3 games for Tennessee.
Ooh.
And you can't say those are all just gimmies.
No.
At all.
They're not cakewalks at all.
There's a reason why Auburn had as long of a home winning streak as Tennessee had there until they both ended in the same week.
Is it because we're linked to Bruce Pearl? Is that why?
No. Please God, no. Our buddy Alan Bell listening to the show this morning.
Yeah.
247 Sports Line tweets at us, says, Texas A&M runs the offense Tennessee should, drive straight to the bucket, and force you to foul them over and over and over.
Facts.
Then again, you have to hit free throws. But still, he's exactly right.
Where's the lie?
I think in this era of college basketball, and this is a larger discussion for another time, Tennessee's got to adjust to maybe not being so physical on defense, because it's almost like on a certain night with certain environments and certain referees, and not blaming the referees for the loss last night. I'm not doing that at all. Tennessee deserved to lose the game. But
there was one war criminal that was calling the game last night.
I know who he is.
Pat Adams is a crime against humanity. There were 5 monitor reviews in the first 15 minutes of this game. This game took 2 hours and 35 minutes.
That's too long.
I wanted to go to bed.
Yeah.
Anyway,
not blaming the refs for the loss last night. I'll blame Pat Adams for me getting a little less sleep last night.
But between that and the second half, like early fouls, like we had 5 within like the first 3 minutes of the second half.
They were in the bonus with 14 minutes left in the game. Look, I think that being said, it's hard to convince yourself that playing this physical, grinded out, like strongman style of defense is really the best thing for you until college basketball goes to a 6th foul, which might happen in the near future. I mean, if anybody's going to benefit from a 6th foul in college basketball, it's this Tennessee team, because they can't stay out of foul trouble.
I was going to say, anybody been officiated by Pat Adams?
Oh God, God.
But I'll say this though, as I seek comfort a little bit in this Vols loss. You have those 2 guys out, Julian Phillips and also Josiah Jordan-James.
Right.
I think if you have them, you open it up a little bit more. This is a very limited team offensively. Defensively, I was still impressed with them. Other than the drives down the lane, the one where they're big dunked the ball in the second half, I was just more or less like, we need more of that, here or there. Like, where's the athletic guy to do those types of things? But I wasn't mad overall at the defense. I was mad at the fact that in today's game of basketball, nobody wants to take advantage of the shot. Nobody wants to drive and dish. And then they were off on certain passes and alley-hoops. I'm thinking to myself, like, toss it up, have the finish up at the rim. They wouldn't do those things. It's really a big time of like, the jump roping game you play, double dutching. Like they can't decide on when they want to jump in and go. Like that's the way I look at them offensively, Kayla.
But isn't that something if you're Rick Barnes and you're going back every time and looking at film and you're realizing that is an issue?
Yeah.
That Rick Barnes is trying to fix that? Or does he just think that's not the style, we're going to play the way we're going to play, but then the results aren't getting wins?
Yeah. Ron kind of said it yesterday. It was like he has said that, like in his pressers, like shoot the ball. He's told them to shoot. Yeah. He's pulled them out of games to tell them shoot the ball.
These kids want all the accolades. Why aren't they shooting the ball? It doesn't make any sense to me. They want all the, it's me, it's all about me. Then okay, make it about you then.
Exactly.
In this situation.
And I get it. Like if I was Rick Barnes, I would sit back. I wouldn't say anything during film except for shot. Oh, that was a shot. Shot. Oh, look at that shot. I just do
pointer.
that. Oh my gosh, the pointer.
Right?
Yes, the red laser the entire time. Shot. Oh, look at that shot. Oh, you dribble and came back out of the paint. That was a shot. Like,
and then you insert shot. Everybody.
For real. Or he probably say somebody shot. Like, that's all you can say. Like, give me that because the offense worked well. When they came out and start the game, it was beautiful. They were passing the ball, dishing, going down. It was fun to watch in the first, I say up to the 12-minute mark of the first half. I was just like, okay, they got it. And then the fouls. And then A&M went on a run and shots. They needed Lil Jon.
How many times can we say shots in one segment?
I think we did it a lot.
We did it a lot.
Guinness Book,
right
call
there.
us up.
Those shots.
615-737-1045, our number. Coming up this morning, Tyler Dunne of GoLongTD.com had a great piece on why the Packers appear to be ready to give the keys to Jordan Love in Green Bay. Get his thoughts on where Jordan Love fits into the quarterback carousel this offseason. And the biggest thing I want to learn from him is there a scenario where Jordan Love is a backup quarterback in 2023? I'm starting to think that's not the case after what he had to say yesterday on his website, as well as the latest we're hearing about Aaron Rodgers. So looking forward to that conversation coming up in hour 2. Denver radio host and former Broncos offensive lineman Ryan Harris will join us at 8:20. Get his thoughts on the new assistant that comes from Denver to the Tennessee Titans, which was made official yesterday. More details on that as the show continues. And then Rhett Bryan in hour 4. Running backs with RB, with Rhett Bryan. We're going to go through the top 10 or more running backs in the 2023 draft class, including many from the SEC, one backup running back in college who could be an even bigger role player in the NFL, and a former Vol that we've been impressed with through the entire process. So looking forward to that coming up in hour 4, and midweek motivation with Inky Johnson. Tons to discuss this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. But when we come back, the latest from a disappointing press conference and a stunningly hard-to-watch story unfolding in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We'll dive into the latest from AL.com and their piece on Brandon Miller, Alabama, and what in the world is going on in Tuscaloosa. Coming up next, it's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster from MyPhDWeightLoss.com. Listen to me, folks. It's getting real close to getting hot outside. It's getting hot in February, so imagine what it's going to be like in the summertime. I'm here to tell you, get comfortable with yourself. Most guys that use My PhD Weight Loss lose between 3 to 5 pounds a week, and female clients lose between 2 to 3 pounds a week if done correctly. If you want to make that change that's going to make you feel better about yourself, look better, feel better, do better, be more active, listen to me, go to MyPhDWeightLoss.com. I've had people ask me about them numerous times, and no, there are no meal suppressants, there are no pills you have to take. This is just a you change. This is what you should or could be doing instead of that. And it's formulated formulated specifically for you. My plan isn't like Buck's plan, and Buck's not like mine. It works for me, and it can work for you. I promise you. Go to myphdweightloss.com and be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you.
Wednesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling with you on the phone lines at 615-737-1045. On a busy day in college basketball, the biggest story yesterday in the sport has nothing to do with a game that was played. It has to do with a capital murder charge for now former Alabama basketball player Darius Miles and 20-year-old Michael Buzz Davis, according to law enforcement testimony yesterday that now connects former Cane Ridge and now Alabama freshman forward Brandon Miller to this situation. This entire story is sad. It's awful. And we get more information now that Miller brought his gun to where they were, which was ultimately used in the killing of a woman in Tuscaloosa. Nate Oats released a statement after a statement, which is never a good thing when you're releasing statements after you've already spoken to the media. But these were the comments from Nate Oats that were particularly troubling yesterday about Brandon Miller, quote, not being in any trouble as a result of his alleged involvement. Here's the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nate Oats, yesterday.
It was discussed in court this morning that Brandon's car was involved with Darius' situation. Just how comfortable were you with his proximity to that? And also, if there's any NBA scouts who might be inquiring, what would you say to them about that?
Yeah, I mean, we've known the situation since we've been fully cooperating with law enforcement the entire time. I mean, the whole situation's sad. I mean, you just think of it, team closed practice with a prayer for the situation today. Again, knowing that we had this trial today, I mean, you think of Jamia and her family and Kane, really think about her son Kane that was left behind. So it's sad. We knew about that. I mean, you can't control everything anybody does outside of practice. Nobody knew that was going to happen. College kids are out. Brandon hasn't been in any type of trouble, nor is he in any type of trouble in this case, like in the wrong spot at the wrong time. So we'll address it when I'm sure NBA scouts will ask, they do their homework. But yeah, I think the article that it came out in also stated Brandon's been interviewed. And he's they're comfortable with everything that happened there.
So Miles contacted Miller, asked him to bring his gun,
Yes.
meaning Miles, which is, I'll clarify that just so we're clear on exactly what I meant by that, to where they were. And that was Nate Oates' troubling reaction yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He got, hammered the minute that he came out and made those comments just because, look, I understand he's dealing with a very, very sensitive situation in the middle of basketball season. But when it comes down to it, you need to be prepared to have, I'm not going to say the right answers, but the answers that are going to not put people in the opposite direction because you're saying things that really seem misinformed or just not sensitive to the whole situation, kind of alluding to the fact that, wrong place, wrong time. I get it. It's his player. He's trying to support him as well during this whole situation, but it just came across as it didn't rub people right.
No, like he was trying to protect his season.
Yeah.
That's the way it came across, like he was trying to protect his season. Nate Oates, and this situation is very sensitive. I'm going to be very careful in my words, too, because I want to respect the young lady who passed away and her family, because that right there, Jamia is her name. That right there is just all bad. That those split-second decisions of the text message, of the comments from Nate Oates doesn't help it yesterday either, and just the whole scenario of them blocking in their car just so they can go talk to somebody else's girlfriend, and she had already told them no. I got a boyfriend and I'm here to see my friends. You can't be that silly. But this to me is so many different things. I'll go back to the original before we go to the Brandon Miller side of it. Parents with student athletes or student athletes that are in college right now, if you're an injured person, the worst thing you can do is start separating yourself from the pack.
100%.
Meaning bringing other people on campus to be around you. And I think that's what the Miles kid ended up doing. That's probably his biggest detriment more to anything around it. Darius Miles had a friend with him, Buzz, that's not a student, that doesn't have to lose as much as you do, and he's hanging around you. That right there is the biggest issue. I've seen this type of stuff happen at UT also, whether it be locals, right, that befriend players on teams, or whether it be like, man, this is my homeboy from back at the crib. Like, no, there's no reason for him to be around you whatsoever. Your avenues are totally different. He's a hanger-on. There's no reason for him to be partying with you at college campuses this often or staying with you. And apparently they were really good friends. Like, to have your friends come up, cool, fine. But here you are right now. The first issue that they had wrong was you had an outsider trying to do insider type things, like go on college campuses and talk to your friends or your classmates' girlfriends. That's so wrong. Separate yourself from some of these people. Some people say, man, you've changed. And you know what you tell those folks? Yeah, I have. And I had to, because our avenues will lead you, different avenues will lead you to situations like this. Not smart at all. And the Brandon Miller side of it and Nate Oats' comments will, like, there's a lot.
Going with the wrong place, wrong time,
Ugh.
kind of, it just comes across pretty callous from Nate Oats that he is so focused on how this affects him and his team that it just came across insensitive and insulated within that locker room in terms of, I don't know, it just came across very...
dismissive.
Dismissive. Yeah. That was it. And I think coaches so often get inundated and will separate themselves from life, separate themselves from the general flow of the outside world just to focus on their team and insulating their team from outside noise. Well, in this circumstance, the noise is important. The noise is not a distraction to your team. This doesn't need to just be seen as like another negative story about somebody not making enough free throws that you've got to insulate and protect your guys.
No.
You protect your guys by teaching them and showing them the best you can how to not put themselves in these situations. But Nate Oats did clarify his comments in another statement late last night, which says, I thought it was important for me to clarify the unfortunate remarks I made earlier. This entire time I've tried to be thoughtful in my words relative to this tragic incident, and my statement came across poorly. We were informed by law enforcement of other student athletes being in the vicinity. Law enforcement has repeatedly told us that no other student athletes were suspects. They were witnesses only. Our understanding is that they have been fully truthful and cooperative. In no way did I intend to downplay the seriousness of this situation or the tragedy of that night. My prayers continue to go out to Jamia Harris's family. That was Nate Oats yesterday after his initial press conference on this issue.
But that's the thing. Why did it take a second, round of comments to clarify what he said in the first one, which was completely opposite? I felt like if he would have said that the first time, okay, good. Like that's well spoken. Like
right.
It's thoughtful. I mean, even when he said, "Oh, we've known about this," like just the way that it came across was so, like you said, callous. Like, why is it so hard to just know? Like, you're probably going to have to deal with something like this at some point. Like, I'm not going to say that's the easiest situation to be in because I'm not in that situation.
Right.
But you're on a grand stage, and you're at Alabama right now. You're on a team that's winning. You've got national attention, and this is a big story.
It is. Now it's even bigger because Brandon Miller's name is in it, and the text message that came through to him to tell him to bring the heat. Like that is bothersome because you got an older guy on his team in Darius Miles who's injured, who is attached himself to a young star on his team. And this is one thing I hated about old guys too on teams when they weren't playing or their careers weren't going the way they were, the way they wanted them to go, was they fail drug tests, they go half-ass in workouts, they miss classes, they do all of those things because their career didn't go a certain way. If I'm the old head on campus, and I had some really good older guys on our teams, I will say that at UT, but it was some that strayed away and they eventually got kicked off. Why are you going to bring a young freshman who's got only one semester left? Heck, I don't even know if classes had started up at that point in time, and maybe that was their back-to-school party. Why are you dragging down this phenom to the depths with you because your career isn't going the way it's going?
Yeah.
Why would you text him when your mom is also a police officer herself? Darius Miles' mom is a police officer. Dog, you know the law.
That's...
Or some of
insane.
It. That's where one of those situations where she got to say, look, y'all, I tried. He didn't pick this up from me. I didn't raise no idiot like this, no dummy to be implicating himself in a situation or even thinking about bring me the heat. And then you bring this young guy, Brandon Miller, down to the depths with you. Like, if I'm going to do something, that's got to be on me, especially something like that. And if you didn't need the heat before you left the house, why do you need it right now when you ticked off and mad?
Mm-hmm. How detached are these injured players?
He had just gone on injury reserve.
Okay, so it wasn't like
college.
he had been right.
But he apparently probably wasn't playing the way he wanted to. And now it's just like, well, I'm just a Joe. And that's what happens when he has this guy Buzz with him that actually, I think, pulled the trigger in those situations. And then on top of that, you ended up shooting inside of Brandon Miller's car, too.
Right.
Like, dog, you're reckless at this point.
Tuscaloosa Chief Deputy District Attorney Paula Whitley said, when asked why Miller was not charged, said, quote, "That's not a question I could answer. There's nothing we could charge him with according to the law." Her quote in testimony that came out in Tuscaloosa yesterday. I think the most unfortunate part of this is that we're spending time talking about Nate Oats and his comments and the mistakes that he made and not honoring the life of a young woman who lost her life.
Yeah.
And I think Nate Oats had actually done a really good job in kind of surrounding his team and moving on from this tragedy the only way they knew how and just taking it one day at a time. I thought his comments leading up to that moment were pretty thoughtful.
Yeah.
And pretty real.
But it's almost like he went on the defense a little when the minute that his name was brought up.
In the minute,
I mean, you would.
Don't you think? That's what it felt like
the minute
to
a
me.
star player was put into the middle of this who had continued playing.
Yes.
It felt like Nate Oats had to take that extra step to then give his support of why Brandon Miller was still playing. And that's a different discussion. You can have the argument of whether that guy should have been suspended or still playing, and I think that's a difficult conversation because if there's nothing you can charge him with according to law, I don't know.
Charge him. Like I said, more if anything, depending on how it all unfolds, because this is the other part of it too. Brandon Miller's car actually had a recording on it.
Oh.
So I think from what it said in the article, at least anyway, that I guess the Miles guy, Darius Miles, or his friend Buzz had actually gone back and tried to fabricate a different story, not understanding from what the article said that there was cameras on Brandon Miller's car that recorded. And it's probably like one of those, if you crash, it records. So when it was shot, it probably started recording. So they probably have more of the story that they can't really give us right now. However that unfolds, what comes of it, who knows? It also states, too, that Jamia Harris's boyfriend also shot back. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Buzz guy that was with Darius Miles was shot also. Mm-hmm. So whether there's more there in that situation, who knows? But
they're lucky there were not more people killed in this whole thing. I mean, that's
right.
I mean,
and my thing, too, as far as Brandon Miller, Nashville native, Antioch, Nate Cane Ridge High School, is this. If for anything, he may be involved in a civil suit. Mm-hmm. And that right there is just not good pre-draft. It's not just, it's going to follow him. You know what I'm saying, as far as his career goes. And I know a lot of people are rooting for him and saying, like, you can't involve yourself. And I think that's the biggest aspect of it when you see his name being mentioned in it.
So whose responsibility is it now to sit him down and say, look, do you know the scale of this? Like, is it just Nate Oats being like, okay, just, play through it? Like, we're not going to have this discussion. Hopefully he learned. I mean, who do you think has sat this young man down, if anybody?
From my understanding, Brandon Miller has two very involved parents. So I'm sure that conversation has already been had numerous times over since this incident has happened. And I think more than anything, social media is going to make him aware of it. Now you've got a big headline. It's not because of National Signing Day. It's not because you've been drafted.
It's not because of your play.
No, the most embarrassing aspect of this is probably what us talking about it right now is probably him being able to not be who he wants to on campus because of this situation and his name being dropped like that. So it's sticky.
Mm-hmm. I think at the very least, I'm surprised that he's been playing through all of this. Not even as much as a disciplinary action, but just because of his role in this and how that would affect a young man emotionally, just on and off the court.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the disciplinary aspect of it, a little surprised he wasn't suspended for a couple games. But I think the bigger surprise to me is that he's testifying and he's going through all of these processes with court testimony coming out about his role in this situation while still playing basketball through all of that. It just doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel quite right. Let's go to John in the Borough this morning, 615-737-1045. What's up, John?
Good morning, everybody. Usually we're having a lot of fun at 6:30 in the morning, but it's a little bit different day. I think there's a lot of unknowns with Brandon Miller specifically. And what I mean by that is we don't know exactly what was said to him or what the situation he was aware of. I'm not making any apologies for it. He contributed to the murder of a young woman, at full stop. What I am more disappointed in and more, I guess, upset by is Nate Oats and his lack of spine, honestly, to be a leader of young men, to be a coach of young men. He acted yesterday as an old ball coach. That's exactly what he acted like yesterday, where all he cared about was winning. All he cared about was the season. He gave no deference to Jamia or her family or the situation. He didn't.
Yeah.
He gave the worst possible answer that could be given.
Yeah, appreciate the call,
he
John. And I think that's the right point. And when we were talking about this yesterday, just kind of how to even discuss this story, that's where my mind went first, is that I think what I'm most disappointed in and all of what comes out yesterday is just the way Nate Oats responded to it.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I think he realized that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Especially considering he made a second statement afterwards, saying his comments were unfortunate.
No doubt about it.
So 615-737-1045. More headlines when we come back. And the exact time the Tennessee-Texas A&M game ended last night.
Were you clocking it?
Maybe
Stop
I
clock?
was. As soon as I saw Pat Adams, the stopwatch started. We have a lot of conversations about pace of play in college football. What about college basketball? Next to Ramon, Kale, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. There are a lot of things that you can do in 2.5 hours. You could watch about 6 episodes of a 30-minute television show. You could drive about 180 miles, or you could watch Tennessee and Texas A&M play basketball. That's exactly what happened last night. This game started at 6 p.m. and ended at 8:35 p.m. Central Time in Reed Arena at Texas A&M. The Indiana-Michigan State game that was coming on after Tennessee and A&M, picked up on ESPN with 7 minutes to go in the first half before they could finally get to that game. That's a problem.
That is a problem right there. It was long. I know you was frustrated with it too, with the amount of replays and everything that had to happen. I wonder, is that applauded though? As far as being super correct on your calls or the reviews of your calls too. You know what I'm saying? How applauded are you? Or is it, look, we got a certain amount of commercials and those dudes just don't care about it. You know what I'm saying? That was bothersome. It's just get the game over. It's 40 seconds left.
I always feel too, when that happens, the flow for the players is sometimes kind of halted when you have that much going on early, you know?
Yeah, well, that can happen. So, let's go back to the Super Bowl when the lights went out. Imagine how that went the second time around. So, being able to figure out how to let the game flow and not. Like I said, early on in the game, as far as the amount of fouls that was going on with the Vols last night against A&M, the second half, I thought that was a bit too much. I thought there was a little bit of acting in it too. But what are you going to do when that's what that group does in prime time almost every single time? Didn't we get the same thing in the Texas game too?
That's why A&M leads college basketball in free throws attempted. I'm serious.
Yeah.
That's why
no, I know.
They're good at drawing fouls, and Tennessee
and
fouls a lot.
everybody knows it.
It was a perfect storm.
It was a perfect storm.
Zakai Ziegler just can't stay out of foul trouble, man.
He cannot.
And there were most of those calls were right in that game.
We just talked about that on the show that morning.
Yeah, we did. I thought the only one that got me was Tariq Keys. Whenever he didn't run into him, he stopped.
The last
when
one
he was trailing
that was really bad was Olivier Comwas' foul that set up the 2 free throws to make that a 3-point game. It was not a foul.
It was not.
Not a foul at all. And Wade Taylor has drawn 2 more fouls ever since the show started this morning. But, too many monitor reviews. You've got just so many timeouts in college basketball games late.
Yeah, you do.
And then you go to a 30-second TV time. It's just I think the conversations we always want to have about pace of play in college sports is about college football. I'm willing to say that college basketball has as big of a pace of play issue as college football does. I think they're at least equal.
I don't think it always was like that, though.
These monitor reviews are getting out of hand.
How many do you get a game? There's not a set on them?
And Jimmy Dykes made the point, Carl Ravitch on the ESPN call, that at one point, Santiago Vescovi was going to Pat Adams asking for a monitor review. Mm-hmm. And Carl Ravitch was like, you got to throw the red flag on that in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You got to take a timeout to challenge something in college football. Why are you allowed to just go to the ref and say, hey, Mr. Ref, can we get a monitor review? And I'm totally with him.
Vescovi did it last night.
I'm blaming him for it. I'm saying Vescovi shouldn't be able to go to Pat Adams and say, hey, go look at that.
And he was right.
Do you kind of reassess in the offseason at some of this stuff? Because look what they're doing with baseball. They're completely trying, and I get that because it's a different type of pace.
Yeah, it is.
But I feel like they're changing up a lot of things in terms of sports and speed.
Yeah.
But then it's basketball's going the opposite direction.
You could have made an entire 3-course meal in the final 5 minutes of those games.
You probably did in your quick pot or whatever it is.
Smoke a whole hog, huh?
Yeah.
That's buried underground and smoke a hog.
And it's not just a Pat Adams problem, the worst official in sports, but it is a problem just with monitor reviews. Yeah. And I feel like referees now have overcorrected towards, I've got the monitor, so not locked in quite as much.
But let's talk about the real issue. We as fans have to decide what we want replay to actually be. Mm-hmm. And what level of missed calls, blown calls, incorrect calls, whatever you want to call it, we're willing to accept in our live action. That's the actual topic. The fact that we're going into the replay and going to the monitors this much to at times re-adjudicate the game, those are the topics that we have to discuss.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
All right, I'm glad I brought the room down.
I mean, you're right. There's nothing else really to add.
My only pushback was, Shafe, does it matter what the actual fan want in these situations, or is it the regulation of the actual sport, though? Like, that would be my only pushback to you saying, well, what does the fan want?
Well, the
My
fan
thing
can
is,
make the change happen.
but it shouldn't
yeah.
be the fan, is what I would say in this. And I'm pushing back just to push back, in the sense to be like, does it matter what the fan, or is it the officiating that actually needs to be done?
Of course it does, because that's how we ended up getting replay in football.
Was the fan?
Was the outcry for it? Yeah.
Sheesh.
Was that what happened? Was you were having blown plays, you'd have a TV replay, but then the officials couldn't use the replay, and then there was an outcry to do that, and that's how we ended up getting it. Because football held out forever before it actually instituted replay.
Oh, yeah.
When was the replay incorporated?
Oh,
Jeez.
90s.
Oh, yeah.
Was it 90s?
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
But it had been talked about long before that. And that's something we can talk to with Coach Mack tomorrow, because he was in the middle of all that in the league where he saw all that happen.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is that's actually what it's about.
A 2.5-hour college basketball game is like the equivalent of a 4.5-hour college football game.
Because my point to that, Ramon, is that, okay, you hear someone say, oh, you got to let them play. You can't call that at the end. And then when the call goes opposite of their team, they go, that's a foul. You got to call that. It ultimately comes down to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and how many times do you see college football games go that late, where you're picking up late in the first half of a college football game in the next TV window? That does not ever happen.
No,
if
you're right.
Yeah.
Basketball is doing that a lot lately.
Way
a lot.
too much.
Yeah.
Like the SEC Big 12 Challenge, where every game was staggered 2 hours, 2 hours, to like they got behind on the first game, then they would delay the tip off just a couple minutes. Then just the next one just back
Go
up.
to the next network.
Tennessee was playing Texas at like 5:15 because of that, and they got done at like 7:30. Like it's just it's. I think the discussion is too focused on college football pace of play, when in reality, college basketballs might be worse. A lot of monitor reviews.
a lot of monitors.
615-737-1045 is our number. The headlines coming up next, including in the NFL, where the Titans have officially a new running backs coach. And again, the foul line numbers in Tennessee and A&M. Not to, again, say that refs made the wrong calls, but teams are better at getting to the free throw line than Tennessee is. That's for sure. And one almost had a Grant Williams-like performance last night. That's next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Window Nation, and Window Nation has the coolest deal ever for keeping you warm, where you pay $0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. That's 2 years, no interest. Plus, get 2 free windows with every 2 you buy, with no limit to it also. You can take advantage of Window Nation's deep discounts, all while reinvesting in your biggest asset, not to mention the energy savings for years to come. You can call 866-90Nation or go online at windownation.com. And why Window Nation Windows? Well, you can save up to 30% on your heating bills. And you say, why or how? Well, that's because 43% of your utility bills is heating costs. You can increase the value of your home by up to $12,000. And quick pro tip, if you need Window Nation windows, well, if they're sticking, drafty, cracked, hard to open, or locking when they close, yes, you need new windows. The longer you have old, drafty windows, the more money you are wasting on your heating bills. Over time, Window Nation has saved their customers over $60 million on energy bills. Again, if you need new windows, call 866-90Nation or go online at windownation.com.
7:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Men's college basketball, Tennessee's struggles continue. Losing last night at Texas A&M 68-63. The Aggies went 28 of 34 from the free throw line. Santiago Vescovi and Zakai Ziegler each had 14 points for the Vols, who have lost 5 of their last 7 games. Alabama freshman Brandon Miller brought a teammate the handgun that was used to kill a woman last month. That's according to police in Tuscaloosa. A detective testified yesterday in a preliminary hearing that Miller provided Miles with Miles's gun. It is Miles who faces capital murder charges in that case. Miller will not be charged. Alabama's Nate Oats said yesterday that the school had been aware of Miller's alleged link to the case. That Miles is Darius Miles, of course. The Titans officially announced the hiring of Justin Alton as their running back / run game coordinator. Niners quarterback Brock Purdy has had surgery delayed for his right elbow. They're waiting for the swelling in that elbow to reduce so he can have the torn UCL in his elbow repaired. To the ice, Nashville defeated Vancouver in a shootout 5-4. The Preds had surrendered a 4-2 lead but hung on to win in the shootout. Number 3, Tennessee defeated Alabama A&M 10-0 in 8 innings to win their home opener. Number 10, Vanderbilt lost its home opener, Central Arkansas, 5-4 at Hawkins Field in college baseball action yesterday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
And the show goes on into hour number 2 on the Wednesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Coming up, we talk with one of our favorites, Tyler Dunne of GoLongTD.com, and his profile on Jordan Love, who he believes is ready to take over as the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. We'll get his thoughts on Love and where Ryan Tannehill fits, or if he fits at all, in the 2023 quarterback carousel. Alongside Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Jonathan Schaefer, our producer. I'm Will Bowling.
His name is Will Bowling.
I think he knew that was coming.
I didn't know. I never know when the shape's going to drop it.
My spidey senses are getting better at tingling at the right time.
Yeah, I think so.
No, it's because I usually do it at 7 o'clock.
Well, the secret's out.
Never really noticed
The
that.
secret is out.
Not now moving forward, though.
Oh.
You can't put Schaefer in a corner.
No, it's like
No.
slap
Never
bet. You
put
just,
him in a
you know,
corner.
you just got to switch things up.
You never put him in a corner,
That
man.
was on my Snapchat memories the other day,
What?
watching the slap bet for the first time on How I Met Your Mother, because I was watching How I Met Your Mother for the first time 7 years ago now.
Slap bet was great.
Oh, it was so good.
Slap
Underrated television show.
What is slap
I
bet?
have no idea.
How I Met Your Mother.
Black
There's a-
people didn't watch that show either.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it,
never
Mom.
watched
Don't
that
worry.
one. Okay.
It's
well,
Friends for my
we
generation.
didn't. It's Friends?
Even though most of my friends watch Friends too.
I never watched Friends.
I never did either.
Again, black people didn't watch that show either.
No, we watched Living Single. Which, by the way, is
How
very
about I
interesting.
watched Family Matters?
I watched Martin. When
gonna say
did
Martin.
Fresh
Which-
Prince come out? When
Fresh
did it
Prince,
stop
yeah.
being played?
Fresh Prince.
That was 90s at some point.
Sister. Watch
Oh, yeah, I
those.
watched
You watched
Sister,
Sister?
Sister.
I haven't even heard of that one.
You never watched Sister
That was
Sister?
with Tamaria.
Tia and-
Will's too young.
Tia
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Tia and Tamara
Mowry?
Mowry? Oh,
Yeah.
they were on Twitches on Disney Channel.
What's Twitches?
The Disney Channel original movie about twin witches.
Only witch movie I know is what's the name? Hocus Pocus.
Not
They
Halloween.
came out with another one.
They did?
Yeah, Hocus
Yeah.
Pocus 2, it didn't do as well.
No, when they were all older, like recently.
I wouldn't even want to watch that remake right there. I think they did a Sandlot 2. I actually heard that one was pretty good.
Oh,
Sandlot 2.
I like the Sandlot.
Yeah, I
a
heard
lot.
about that. Yeah.
think I knew
They said
that.
it was actually pretty good though.
Yeah, I'm good with shows that are current. Not as good with things that happen. I don't know. I'm a little better with, like, I love The Wire.
Do you?
Oh, I love The Wire.
Have
And
you
How I Met
seen
Your Mother
that?
was coming out when I was like,
yeah.
when I was like 10.
The Wire, Sopranos is A1.
I need to do that one next.
Sopranos.
I know. That's been like number one on my list for a while, and then new stuff keeps coming out, and I keep replacing it with new stuff.
Instead of watching Breaking Bad, which I get twice.
Well, I love rewatching shows.
I know, but at some point you got to move on because there's too many shows.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I've yet to dive into Yellowstone, and I've been so adamant about
Kevin
Yellowstone.
Costner's leaving.
It's possible.
But you know what? That's when I dive into shows like that, though. Like, after everybody's off the wave or not talking about it as much. That's the same way I did with The Wire and The Sopranos.
Oh, I watched the last 6 episodes of Breaking Bad. Didn't watch anything before that.
Breaking Bad was the same thing, too.
Psychopath.
Yeah.
No, this is what happened.
Psychopath.
Okay?
Yeah, that is very psychopath.
No. Listen to this. Shut up. It was the weekend of the last episode, okay?
Yep.
So they ran a marathon earlier that day of a ton of episodes leading into the last one. So obviously I didn't know all the stories and everything about it, but I figured it out enough that by the time I got to the last episode, I went, oh, this is good. And the ending was fantastic. The ending was perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I went, oh, I'm good. I invested a day in this, and I'm fine.
It's funny, the two shows we just discussed, Shave, How I Met Your Mother and Breaking Bad, the worst finale of all time and the best finale of all time.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Like Breaking Bad is legitimately one of the best finales in television history.
Yeah. Where would, Shafe, if you've seen it, because I know Will hasn't, Kayla, where's Sopranos ending?
I didn't see
I just don't wanna know what
It's
the ending is.
mixed. It's mixed.
So they come
much-
back and redo it?
Too
All
much
right,
mystery?
Here's a little story from a friend of the show. I was actually at Eitan Chander's apartment here in Nashville, and a bunch of us watched the final episode of The Sopranos back when Eitan used to work in this town. And we all thought that his cable/satellite went out because it went to that straight to black and then the credits. So we were among the people who are like, what happened? Now, when the creator explained the ending,
Yeah.
I understood it. I still didn't dig it,
Right.
but I understood it. And a lot of people forever thought Seinfeld was a really bad ending too. Then when they explained that, I went, and actually the Seinfeld ending has become better in my mind over time. Because I'm like, oh, I get it. Spoiler alert, all these people are really bad people and end up being in a jail cell together for however long it's going to take. That's perfect. That makes sense. Because we liked these people and followed them, but they were actually really nasty people.
I think it's really hard to get a finale right, no matter how you think about it. Like even some of your favorite TV shows,
Yeah.
the finale is always like, wait, it always kind of leaves you wanting more. Now, like you said, Breaking Bad, some of those particular shows,
Yeah.
they do a really good job of tying it up into a nice little bow and being like,
There you go.
you got your show.
Yeah.
But other times I'm like, no, wait, what?
Game
know?
of Thrones?
Oh, it's terrible.
That
That was
not
a
good.
terrible-
Well, some
Not
people would say that
good.
entire last season
It
was
was
terrible.
not
It
good.
was.
They
It's almost
dragged
like
it
they
out.
needed
Was
to end
too.
it. Mhm.
I'll tell you a show that did well. The Office, I think, ended well.
Oh, it's perfect.
It was a season too long,
Here's the problem.
but it ended well.
I had bailed out on the show before I saw the end.
The
No,
last
I had
season
to
was
finish
good.
it.
The last season
Yeah.
was good. It was season 8 that was terrible.
Yeah, I ain't like the cameraman and Pam thing.
Well,
no.
yeah, but the next to last season, like when you go back and watch The Office again, which I do twice a year,
Yeah.
which I'm actually doing right
The
now.
cameraman and Pam, spoiler alert.
Right?
No, there was
Don't
nothing
spoil
to it.
This. Jeez.
These people forget before I even go down the road.
In the living room with a candlestick. The last season holds up actually decently well. Like I laugh out loud a lot more in the last season of The Office than I do the penultimate season.
The what season?
The penultimate season
Penultimate.
Which is basically a fancy way to say next to last.
means next to last.
Well, you might have just said next to last then.
Okay.
penultimate is a normal word.
No.
To you.
I say
Penultimate-
We
that.
didn't go to BA.
Penultimate
Okay.
is an entertainment business word.
Chill.
Hey, us public school, we would depend what?
Yeah, straight up public tool right here,
Hey,
y'all.
we just call them plays. We ain't call
Okay.
them drama
All
club.
right.
Come on, man.
I guess capitalize my J then.
Yeah, capitalize your J.
This is where you can put your penultimate.
Penultimate was a college word. Anyway,
Penultimate.
It's an entertainment business word.
Yeah, I never took
That's
those
where you hear it
classes.
the most.
every
Penultimate.
every like track meet that I would do that has like 50 heats of something. On heat
Yeah.
49, I always say, now for our penultimate heat. And then go into
You
that.
didn't take those classes because you
So
majored in
impressive.
football, Ramon.
did
mean,
major in football.
I mean that is the truth.
But I got my degree, though, and
We
I-
learned in broadcasting, sorry,
It's hanging up
Go
on the
ahead.
wall.
No,
I've seen
go
it.
ahead.
that you actually don't use those big words. You have to use the most basic words so that the audience understands you and doesn't have to be like, wait, what? That's in TV broadcasting. That was what we were always told when we wrote our scripts. Now, once in a while, you could get a little fancy if you were feeling cool or smart.
Yeah.
But they said keep it basic.
I regret nothing.
James Lewis
So take that J away.
I regret nothing.
tweeted us and reminded us that the Lost finale was.
I know, I
I've
saw
heard
that.
all of that, but
Have you seen it, Will?
I have not seen it. It's been on my
okay.
list forever.
God, it's an oldie.
But I feel like at this point, if I learn a spoiler about a show that came out in like 2005, that's a me problem.
Well, and that's a summertime topic. What is the statute of limitations for spoiler alerts for movies and TV shows?
I think movies and shows have different ones
No, I think it's fair.
because movies start and end at a certain they're released and then they're out. TV shows you've got to have more time to watch every season.
Yeah,
I think you can't go beyond three years though.
Oh, I was going to say
think that's
months.
about it.
Is Dexter really that good? I see Zach
Okay,
Monson.
so
Dexter's about
Dexter's
it.
the show that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Sure.
That they ended it, and I was wanting to be like, what?
Oh, the final for that was
It was
dreadful.
awful.
What?
You could tweet the show on Twitter at Ramon Kayla Will. Alex chiming in this morning saying, public school kid here. Penultimate is a perfectly acceptable word. Y'all need to get on at Will_Bowling's level.
Nope.
Alex, your check's in the
Sorry.
mail.
One Will friend, one person out of 100 Will.
It's amazing
Way
that
to
one
highlight
friend that Will had that he texted during the conversation.
He's like, yo, get on the chat.
back me up here.
And he interrupted the
This wasn't
show to
the
make
chat.
the
We were talking
statement
about
too.
Dexter, bro.
Well, we
it's
were
time to go
talking
to-
about Dexter.
time to go to break
Great
anyway.
show.
No, it's not time to go to break now.
No.
No, Kayla, tell us about Dexter.
Yeah, if you've seen it, you need to see it. Now, you could skip the last season. That's all I have to say. And then there was one more season that came out about 2 years ago. It was not great, but, they tried.
Justified had a pretty good final episode, too. That was
Well,
good. And now they're doing a spin-off of that I'm really looking forward to.
last season of Snowfall starts tomorrow. Don't text me, okay, tomorrow night.
You're gonna be
I would
locked
like to
in.
watch Snowfall. I've never gotten into
Yeah.
it. It
It's-
looks
It
great.
does look good.
John Singleton, oh my
Well,
God.
it's John Singleton. Come on now.
Woo!
Looks good.
Will,
Add it to the list.
get you some.
Okay. Coming up next,
7:14.
We need to go to the dictionary, Ramon.
we also need to go to break because Tyler Dunne of Go Long TD will join us next. We'll discuss Jordan Love and his willingness and his readiness to take over potentially as the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. He had a great piece on his website about Jordan Love we'll dive into coming up on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, it's Will Bowling here for my friends at Lead Company, and it may be cold outside, but that doesn't mean you have to take a cold shower. You know how it is here in Middle Tennessee. The weather's hot one day, and then it's freezing the next day, and Lead Company is going to take care of you because right now they are offering $500 off or special financing on tankless water heaters this month. That's right, endless hot water at your fingertips that saves energy, money, time, and space. So don't miss out on this great deal. Call Lead Company today at 615-567-1000. They're offering you $500 off or special financing on tankless water heaters this month. That's 615-567-1000 or online at leadcompany.com. Lead Company, all you need. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here at 104.5 The Zone, talking quarterbacks and NFL, and where the Titans fit into a quarterback carousel that is becoming more interesting by the week. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling with you as we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline here momentarily with our good friend Tyler Dunne of GoLongTD.com, who really, I guess this would be our season finale with Tyler Dunne of this football season. This is a season finale that will not disappoint.
No.
Unlike all the shows we just talked about. Good morning, Tyler. How are you?
I'm good. How have you guys been?
Great.
Good, man.
We're missing football a little, though.
Already.
It never really ends. I know it's cliche, but it is true. I mean, the NFL is rapidly becoming the NBA in terms of just drama, and I feel like every time we talk, we're talking Aaron Rodgers. I know I'm bringing him up already, but we got darkness retreats, and I mean, last off season he may or may not have been with a witch. I mean, it's always something. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, well, and we also we have A.J. Brown already making more, whether they're fake or real, on the Raw Room podcast with Darren Bates, already saying, hey, just ship me away to wherever Jalen Hurts goes. I mean, literally, my reaction to that, Tyler, was every day we become more like the NBA, and I don't even like watching the NBA.
I know it. Yeah, I want you guys to take, too. Like, having two kids, you don't really have the free time to just plop down and watch an NBA game, so I thought that maybe that's why I haven't watched the NBA. And then you see how they can't even do this pickup game all-star, Giannis LeBron thing without hurting somebody's feelings. I'm like, oh, that's why I don't like the NBA,
right?
Because they get caught up in their feelings over something so stupid. So I don't know. Is the product been good? Maybe it has.
I don't watch till the postseason, to be honest.
I've watched after I've been watching. I think the product is still good. I'm in admiration of how they play, what they do, and how they go about it. Like how you just walk out there and you're a walking bucket. Like even the dudes that don't have a great shooting percentage, they just let it fly and it goes in. I'm like, I could never do that. Like how many shots did you actually take up? So yeah, I'm on the side of it. It's still pretty much impressive. But the other point that you made about having two kids, listen to me. I got two kids. You hear me? You'll never have any time. The time that you thought you had, you hear me? It's a wrap. Your time will be scrolling on your phone, getting them to bed, and being like, yeah, look at this 20 minutes before bedtime I have. So that's the reason you hadn't watched any NBA
Ramon
games.
just basically said, bleep them kids. That's what Ramon just said.
Pretty much.
I hope they're listening in the car right now.
Nah, they're in school. They better be in school right now. You know what? All you want, Ty Dunne, all you want is to be able to have your kids what I call autopilot. They go to the bathrooms themselves. They take their own baths. They get their own clothes, and they know to go to bed on time. Everything else in between, look, that's on you. Get them to autopilot, then you be good.
I like it. As long as we can just sleep at night, right? Without even one wake up in the middle of the night, I think we can all do with. But the multiple wake ups, if you can just sleep a good 5-6 hours, I think that's all we really have.
Oh, you still in grind mode over there. You talking about wake ups.
Oh, yeah.
Don't scare Will too much, man.
1.5, man. Yeah, we're in the throes. Yeah.
The 3.5 is almost to autopilot. About 4.5 and 5, they'll be able to feed themselves, let you know certain stuff. You get them to school, Ty.
I picture Ramon just throwing a 6-pack of beers to his kids. You guys are good for the week. I'm out of here.
Pretty much.
Then he's got his dog Zeus to worry about, though, and that's a whole nother story. It just never ends.
It doesn't, man. Welcome to the life.
I love it. Love it. Tyler Dunne, our guest, GoLongTD.com this morning, and he had a great piece about Jordan Love, just saying, look, it's Jordan Love time in Green Bay. In writing this piece, Tyler, and I really enjoyed it, what was the biggest thing you learned about just Jordan Love's future in this league and specifically his future in Green Bay?
Last Friday I did a podcast with Bob McGinn. He's covered Green Bay and the NFL for decades. I mean, back to the 70s. So when he is this strong reporting something, I think it makes everybody's ears kind of perk up, and kind of dropped a bomb on us there when he said, yeah, Green Bay is done with Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't really matter what he wants to do or what the financial ramifications are, the trade ramifications. They're done with him, and they believe in Jordan Love. They think that this is Aaron Rodgers 2.0, that he made this huge jump from year 2 to year 3, and they're prepared to do it. So after that kind of shook everybody up, I figured, well, probably a good time to drop this story on why. Like, nobody really has seen much of Jordan Love. It's just been that Kansas City game, the Philadelphia game, some preseason action, and that's about it. So, yeah, chatted with his mentor, personal quarterbacks coach, Steve Calhoun. They've known each other since he was in 8th grade, and this is somebody who coached, Cam Newton. I think he worked with Russell Wilson a little bit. Really smart guy when it comes to quarterback play, and so he really broke down exactly what they did over last offseason. He's always in contact with Matt LaFleur. They've got a really good relationship. I think there's a lot of takeaways here, but I think that probably at the top of the list is this is a quarterback who is going to run what Matt LaFleur wants to run. What makes Aaron Rodgers so special is that telepathic connection with Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, where you're leaning on tens upon tens of thousands of reps, where you just see the same thing in a defense, audible to it, and then you go. And he's changing about a third of the plays, one player told me this past season. Well, when you're changing a third of the plays and you're out there with 3 rookies who don't have that experience, and, oh, by the way, you blew off the offseason, you didn't go to OTAs, Patrick Mahomes is flying down his new receivers to Fort Worth, Texas, while you're kind of, doing more podcast appearances than us combined, like we talked about last time.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. It just doesn't help. So, yeah, I think that Love is speaking the same language as his head coach, as his teammates, and they know that right now he might even be the better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers.
It's crazy, Tyler. And when you look at this and the way this thing could change course, because it seems like every year when Aaron Rodgers comes out of his darkness retreats, things change or get stronger towards one or two directions in terms of his future contracts and playing status in Green Bay. But if this changes course and, say, Rodgers does come back to Green Bay, do you see a scenario where Jordan Love is a backup quarterback again in this league?
If Aaron Rodgers really wanted to make this as uncomfortable as possible for the Green Bay Packers, if he was, as pissed off as he was 2 years ago and then some, and it's like, I'm going to make life hell for these guys, maybe he would do that, right? Maybe he would, call their bluff and say, I'm going to take you up on that $59 million. I'm coming back. And if you really believe in Jordan Love, you're going to have to start him. I mean, that would be quite vindictive. I don't think he'd also want to do that, with the fan base. He's very in tune with public perception, and he wants these fans on his side over the long haul. He doesn't want to go through what Brett Favre went through. He lived it. I mean, he saw everybody turn on Brett Favre the summer of 2008 and 2009 and 10, and it got really ugly really fast to the point where he's just getting booed mercilessly when he came back. I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants all that. So I doubt it gets to that point. And I think that he will seek a trade. Green Bay will happily, facilitate that trade, and there'll be a market for him. I think that a team like the Jets, the Raiders, you guys tell me on the Titans. That's an interesting one too. Somebody can talk themselves into Aaron Rodgers still giving you something at 39 going on 40.
Todd, this is the conversation I don't think many people are having. When it comes down to Aaron Rodgers, is this. If he's so great and he's proven to be a great individual, how come nobody else around him get better? Or how come he hasn't had that opportunity in the NFC where Tom Brady wasn't a part of the equation for over almost 2 decades? How come he gets a pass when you have Patrick Mahomes winning 2 Super Bowls within 5 years or 6 years? You had Ben be able to win you 2. You have Eli that won you 2. You got Peyton Manning that won you 2. You got Brady that got 7. Of all of these great guys, heck, even Carson Wentz and Nick Foles got 1. Of all of these great dudes, or how great he is, he's yet to sniff it again.
It's one of the great what-ifs in NFL history. I mean, why? How did it get to this point? With Mike McCarthy first, now Matt LaFleur, you have all this talent. You do have that wide receiver, like I said earlier, that you just see a different game with. I think that the answer to your question is you can't put him in that upper category. You just can't. I mean, he's been a great regular season quarterback, a very accomplished regular season player with these MVP awards, but he isn't in the upper echelon of all-time greats, because when you get up there, you're talking about guys that win rings, as in multiple, and he hasn't been back to a Super Bowl, let alone win one since 2010. And I think that at some point the Packers, and I get it, you can fall under his spell and and really try to convince yourself that life on the other side is horrifying. Green Bay won 2 playoff games between, 1967 and 1993. They don't want to go back to that purgatory, but at some point, this isn't enough. You have to demand more than regular season success. I mean, look at the last playoff losses. I mean, count Detroit as a playoff loss. That was a win and in. He went 2 of 6 for 12 yards with a pick. The year before that, you lose to Jimmy Garoppolo, who's injured at Lambeau Field. You had Alan Lazard wide open over the middle of the field on a force to Devontae Adams. The year before that, you hosted the NFC Championship game against Tom Brady. 3rd and goal. You've got a chance to run it in. You have a chance to put your body on the line and get your team to a Super Bowl. You throw across your body to a double-covered Devontae Adams. And I get it, Matt LaFleur kicked the field goal the next play. He was ridiculed all offseason for it. But we shouldn't forget about what happened before that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. This has been the theme for his career. And, you can't talk about him as one of the top 5, maybe not even one of the top 10 quarterbacks because he falls short where it matters.
How, if you even know, how upset is a guy like Jordan Love who's had 0 opportunity to get any film and display his talents other than the fact that he's a competitor? Because that has to be a portion of it, too, is you prep all offseason for moments to play, and this guy toys around all offseason. Is there any angst when it comes down to how Jordan Love feel about either being in Green Bay still by allowing them to let him handcuff him or just not giving the opportunity?
I think he's getting to his breaking point, Ramon. I think that he will demand a trade if they do run it back with Aaron Rodgers. And that's just kind of connecting dots and, hearing the way Steve Calhoun talks. And I think Jordan Love himself has kind of hinted at it with people out there in Wisconsin. So I think that is, he's going to start in 2023 in his mind, whether it's Green Bay or somewhere else. So it's on Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, Mark Murphy to decide, okay, are you going to just trash 3 years of developing this guy and getting to this point for the hope of a prayer of a chance that Aaron Rodgers suddenly is recommitted and cares? Because that's the other part of it. Physically, he just didn't have his legs last year. He couldn't just escape the rush like he used to. Remember so many times, you were part of these games where he's corralled by 3-4 guys. He just gets out of it. He couldn't do that. He's getting old, and he's just not working like he used to. So that would be a gamble that is not worth it. Okay, 2 years ago when I thought they should just trade Aaron Rodgers for 3-4 first-round picks, I get why it was a bad business decision to trade a league MVP. I get that. Now the bad business decision is just giving up on Jordan Love. And kicking this money down the line and just it wouldn't make any sense to do it.
Here's the thing about Aaron Rodgers. I'm over it. I'm over the drama with him every offseason. He seems every offseason to tie himself to different teams, and then everybody's got to wait around and see what Aaron Rodgers does after he comes out of a hut or after he comes out of darkness. Now you're having the same situation. The New York Jets, they talked to Derek Carr supposedly interested in, but they got to wait a little bit until Aaron gets out of his thing, and so Aaron can make his decision. How much is he really dictating some of the league in the offseason just because he's a guy that could go in a different direction?
He is. Everybody's waiting. And you just wonder, is he just screwing with everybody?
Yeah.
Hey, I know everybody's waiting for me to make a decision, and I'm just going to go into darkness retreat and eat out of a mail slot for a few days. I wouldn't put it past him. He's not going to retire. I would be shocked if he retired. I shouldn't say that. Is he really going to go into the same Canton class as Tom Brady? And when he believes he can still play at an MVP level, that's what he told Pat McAfee recently. So if he's really not going to retire, he probably knows, and he's just kind of delaying things and playing to the theatrics. And here we are, Super Bowl week in Phoenix. Philly's about to play Kansas City, and what's everybody talking about on Radio Row? Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
I don't think that's necessarily a coincidence. Nor do I think dropping the atomic bomb on the NFL 2 years ago, the night of the draft, was a coincidence. He's very in tune with the narrative of his career publicly. It means a great, great deal to him. So, I think he'll play. First, he has to have the hard conversations with Green Bay, and we'll see if Green Bay has a backbone this time around. I think they will.
On the other side of things, there's a guy by the name of Daniel Jones in New York with the Giants, and supposedly Pro Football Talk reporting that he wants north of $45 million per year. What do you say about this? Is he worth that?
No, but power to him. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, people are getting on Daniel Jones, but I mean, if you've got this opportunity, you've got a market, you have a chance to earn every penny you can earn. Hell yeah, you should ask for as much as he can possibly ask for, and you can always go down from there. So I think it might get a little ugly at times from his camp. I know he's switching agencies and the Giants, but I think both sides are going to realize here that they're best together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Daniel Jones went through so many coaches and coordinators and terrible free agent signings. It was just hell for him early in his career. He gets with Brian Daboll, who, by the way, this is a different Bills offense without Brian Daboll, and he got the absolute best out of him. So I think Jones is going to want to work with this coach. I think the coach wants to work with Jones, too. I mean, it would probably be tempting for Brian Daboll to be like, all right, put Lamar Jackson in this offense. What could I do? I'm sure he has those thoughts, but they can find a number and terms that work to where Daniel Jones gets what he deserves, and Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, the GM, they still have a little flexibility to, scout some quarterbacks out of college. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's next year, but you still leave yourself open to, oh my God, we think this is the next Patrick Mahomes, and we're going to draft him. Alex Smith is probably the best comparison for Daniel Jones when he kind of revitalized his career. That seems like where Daniel Jones is at right now. So, yeah, they're best together. I think it will just take a little bit to get to that point.
Tyler, on the way out, where does Ryan Tannehill fit into this whole conversation? Because fans here are perhaps a little too eager to get rid of that guy and try to go get someone like Derek Carr when we've been saying you already have Derek Carr at home and his name is Ryan Tannehill. Is there motivation in your eyes that's justified for the Titans to look elsewhere?
Man, it's always so difficult to talk about these quarterbacks in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got the haves and the have-nots in the NFL, and it's so easy to just build a Carr, a Tannehill, a Daniel Jones even up, or just tear them completely down. I mean, he's in that middle class. I mean, they've proven they can win with him if things are right around him. I mean, if it's a number again that works for everybody and gives you that flexibility to just keep scouting, keep looking, keep hunting for somebody else, that's what I would do if I'm the Titans. I mean, you're right. If you just move on from a guy, that's fine. But what's your plan? Like, what are you going to do? I think the Giants are there too. Like, if you get rid of Daniel Jones, all right, what's the next move? So I think the Titans will do what the Titans do and win with a run game, with a good defense. But they absolutely should be ramping up their efforts at quarterback. They did it. I mean, they drafted somebody. It just didn't really go as well as they'd hoped in year one.
Tyler Dunne, our guest from GoLongTD.com. Check out the article on Jordan Love. We just tweeted it out from @Ramon Kayla Will, where you can find it. And always really good stuff from Tyler, kind enough to give us a couple of minutes this morning. Thanks as always, man.
Appreciate it, Ty.
Thanks, Tyler.
Hey, I appreciate you all, and absolutely have to get the hell out of Buffalo and do this in person.
Yes.
Come on down
I said
anytime.
come on down to Nashville, man.
It's like 80 degrees here tomorrow. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I can winners, losers, Hattie B's, we'll do it all. Sounds good.
Love it. Love it. There's Tyler Dunne with us this morning on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. We'll react to that on the other side, and particularly the Aaron Rodgers part of that. I think there was never a singular moment or report where we kind of figured out what Aaron was going to do, but I feel like slowly now we're getting enough information to know exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Which is play in a different jersey next year. Coming up next, Ramon Kayla Will, 104.5 The Zone.
As a former professional athlete, I have aches and pains that I deal with every day, but now I found Old School Vapor, and they are hands down the most knowledgeable when it comes to helping me get relief.
That's right, Ramon. The older we get, the more aches and pains we have. Heck, everybody has them, right? And as soon as you walk in, what I love, there's always someone to greet you, guide you in that right direction. And this is what I especially love. Pet owners, they have so many choices for your fur babies. If they have separation anxiety, if they're itching and scratching like Ramon's guy Zeus, travel issues, They got you covered. Go shop Old School Vapor selection of over 200 legal CBD products from brands like Looper, Torch, Hidden Hills, and many more.
And do you like Elf Bars? Old School Vapor has over 100 authentic flavors for only $18.99 each. You can check out their other sales too, like buy one, get one free on select Esco bars, 25% off glass pipes, and 50% off smell-proof bags.
And you don't have to search far and hard to find them. Check them out on Instagram or just Google Old School Vapors to find your nearest location.
4 convenient locations too in Franklin, both ends of Spring Hill, Columbia, and more to come. That's Old School Vapor, and these products contain nicotine, which is an addictive chemical, and you must be 21 years or older to purchase, and no sales, absolutely none, to minors.
Wednesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Coming up in hour 3, the new hire from the Tennessee Titans that became official yesterday. Run game coordinator and running backs coach Justin Outen added to the staff. We'll give you more details on that. Good conversation with Tyler Dunne of GoLongTD.com on Aaron Rodgers and the impending decision made by the Green Bay Packers once he comes back to earth from his darkness retreat, whatever that means. It sounds like the Packers are just done, and that if they're not done, then Jordan Love is going to be done. Like there's no scenario where both quarterbacks are on that roster next year.
You, Aaron Rodgers.
That's right. For real. I would be ticked off if I'm Jordan Love. I would be. That's why I asked Ty Dunne. I was just like, at a certain point, like Jordan Love has to feel a certain way about it. And I get Aaron is the man, but like the back and forth of, commit, non-commit when it comes to playing that position, most players going to be a little upset about that. Hands down.
I get it. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's done a lot for your franchise. He's forever going to be tied to it.
Yep.
Won a Super Bowl. But at some point, what's the future of the Green Bay Packers? And you got to leave the drama, the playing games. That's got to be left behind at some point, because the further you get along in doing that and possibly even keeping Rodgers, you're going to have, I feel like, this again next season.
Yeah.
So I say take the guy that you drafted to be the starter one day, sooner maybe than he thought.
Right.
And make him your guy.
Yeah.
And stop playing, just cut the ties. Start moving forward.
And I think they are now realizing they should have cut ties this time last year.
Yeah.
Last year was their better opportunity. And now the dead money that you're going to have to take on a trade is going to be more difficult to manage than it would have been this time last season. And what did you get out of that? A loss to the Detroit Lions in Week 18 that kept you from the postseason.
That blows my mind. Why or what did they expect out of Aaron to be able to do, get past this point? Where was the loyalty at? Like, that's why so many people feel a certain type of way about like the quarterback position at times too. Because as much as you need one, like you had one for over a decade in Aaron Rodgers, and you got a lot of wins out of it. But a guy like him that's won league MVP, now I look at that as like that was just selfish take for you. That wasn't a team aspect of it. Like, go do both. Go get you another Super Bowl out of this thing, especially when you've been as demanding as he has been after all of these years. Would anybody love to have him? Yes, they will crawl over broken glass for an Aaron Rodgers. But until he really engulfs the team concept of winning together, or at least following, asking the team for the right situation or the right players, then none of that matters as far as his demands to be as best as he possibly can, because he's going to take care of him, it seems like.
That's exactly what it is, Moan.
He's going to take care of him. But
I think where people have to be careful is comparing this to Tom Brady going to Tampa when he did.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is further removed from what he was at his best than Tom Brady was at that point in his career.
Yep.
I agree.
And Tom Brady also had a lot more Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers.
And
also,
to Ty's point, that level of freestyling, the way Aaron Rodgers has been used to doing, don't fly anymore.
No, it doesn't.
Brady was ahead of the curve by saying, "Look, I'm gonna sling it better than anybody else can."
And guys gravitated to Brady. Like, guys wanted to be around Brady. I don't really sense that as much with Aaron Rodgers, just because he is such a me guy.
Yes.
And especially at this point of his career, feel like that more than ever, he's making it about him.
Mm-hmm.
If the Green Bay Packers traded Aaron Rodgers after June 1st, there would be a $15.8 million dead cap number, which honestly is not terrible when you consider a pre-June 1st release would give you $99 million in dead cap, which obviously would never happen. And you would save $15.7 million against the cap in 2023 for Green Bay, according to SpotTrack.com. That number, though, jumps in 2024 to $24 million of dead cap. So again, you could have saved yourself a lot of trouble by just going ahead and figuring this out a year ago.
If I was him, I would just return the poison back to him. I wouldn't talk to him and just release him in June. That's where I'd be at. I was like, Aaron, we're moving on, and I wouldn't even really explain it too much.
A post-June 1st release, though, not in the Packers' best interest, because then they would have a $75 million dead cap dollar amount. So you've got to trade him if you're Green Bay. You can't just release him.
God, who's going to take that on?
Somebody.
I know. I got a feeling that's
Absolutely
the case. You know.
somebody.
Jets. Jets. I mean, I think
I'm
he's
still
going to New
thinking
York.
the Raiders.
Well, we'll see.
I don't know.
615-737-1045 is our number. Halftime of the show. Coming up next in hour number 3, the newest addition to the Titans coaching staff becomes official. Headlines in college basketball. Much more on the way on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 1045 The Zone.
It is 8:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Men's college basketball. Tennessee struggles continue, losing last night at Texas A&M 68-63. The Aggies went 28 of 34 from the free throw line. Santiago Vescovi and Zakai Ziegler each had 14 points. The Vols have lost 5 of their last 7 games. Alabama freshman Brandon Miller brought a teammate the handgun that was used to kill a woman last month. That's according to police in Tuscaloosa. A detective testified in a preliminary hearing that Miller provided Darius Miles with Miles's gun. Miles faces capital murder charges. Miller will not be charged. Alabama's Nate Oats said yesterday that the school had been aware of Miller's alleged link to the case. The Titans officially announced the hiring of Justin Alton as their running back / run game coordinator yesterday. Niners quarterback Brock Purdy, his surgery for his injured right elbow delayed. They're waiting for the swelling to go down before they try to repair the torn UCL in that elbow. Nashville defeated Vancouver in a shootout 5-4 last night on the ice in Bridgestone Arena. The Preds had surrendered a 4-2 lead. College baseball, number 3 Tennessee defeated Alabama A&M 10-0 in 8 innings to win their home opener. Not so much for Vandy. Number 10 Commodores lost its home opener to Central Arkansas 5-4. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Into the second half of the Wednesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, alongside 11-year NFL veteran Ramon Foster.
Yeah.
Our broadcast capitalized J journalist, Kayla Anderson, and the best producer of the world, Jonathan Schaefer.
The best producer in the world.
I'm Will Bowling. Coming up in 15 minutes, we discuss the newest hire made by the Titans, Justin Alton, the new run game coordinator and running backs coach, with former Broncos lineman and Super Bowl 50 champion Ryan Harris, who will join us. Another offensive lineman.
Another one.
Look at you.
So many in the industry. I mean, what do you guys
Bringing
want me
them
to
all
do? I know.
Well, I
thought
mean, they got the knowledge.
talking about Alton, I think, would be very interesting and let you know where this offense could go, I guess.
Alton, the Broncos offensive coordinator last season, who took over play calling duties once Nathaniel Hackett was fired for the last 2 games of the year. We'll get Ryan's thoughts on just where that team improved once Alton took over a bigger responsibility, what he was able to do for that team on a not great offense, but a guy that has a lot of experience, 17 years of coaching experience to be exact. We go to the phones, though, right now at 615-737-1045. We begin with Henry in Hendersonville. First up in hour number 3. Good morning, Henry.
Good morning, Ramon, Kayla, and Will. How are y'all doing this morning?
Good. Great morning.
Kayla, how was the vacation?
It was fabulous. It was nice. You know how it is when you get to see friends and actually let down your hair a little, enjoy some good food. Thanks for asking.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to backtrack a little bit, going back to Aaron Rodgers. Kind of curious why nobody is thinking he would be coming to the Titans. Are we as Titans fans interested in him coming here?
Why is that the case? I think because you're such in a place that you either need to really – I don't think you're in a position to bring in an Aaron Rodgers with the amount of money he's going to be owed and the amount of capital you have to go sign offensive linemen. I think that is the biggest thing is his protection. He'd be better off, I think, staying in Green Bay before trying to come here unless they're just going to open up their personal pocketbook wallet to actually spend money on making this team a contender like overnight. I think that's why. I don't think it's a realistic approach to getting in Aaron Rodgers.
I agree. I mean, I think you just saw him play but play equal to pretty much what Ryan Tannehill just did last year with a equally not great supporting cast.
Yeah.
I don't know what about the supporting cast here would make him better than he was last year. They didn't make the playoffs.
Well, and it's money.
Yeah.
It's
A whole lot of it.
a whole lot of that. I mean, like to Will's point, his wide receivers that he had this year, heck, he wasn't even happy with those guys until later on in the season. And when he found him a number one, like Devontae being gone, like that bothered him. And you got to ask yourself, does Aaron Rodgers really want to coach up a Traylon Burks?
That's the thing. He wasn't willing to put the time in with the team he's been with for years. You think he's going to be willing to come here and put the time in? I would not see that happening.
Absolutely not. I think that's fantasy land. I think it's cool to think about, but that's not a reality of where this team is. I think you find you another mid-level quarterback at best in free agency if that's what you want to do, or go with who you have in-house.
615-737-1045. Cornbread up next on the phone lines with us this morning. What's going on, Cornbread?
Hey, morning, Will, Kayla, and Moan. I'm going to catch some backlash on this, but my thoughts on Aaron Rodgers would be go ahead and move forward with Jordan Love, and I would just go ahead and put Rodgers on the practice squad. That way his agent's probably going to jump on the phones and help the Packers make a trade deal because you know Rodgers ain't going to want to stay on the practice squad. And if you do that, you're not going to suck up that dead cap money.
Yeah. That's a heavy part to be. Like, the money aspect of this one where the cap is real is a very legitimate situation.
Yeah, it would never get to that point, but
God, I'd love to see that, though. Oof. How funny.
I don't think he would have an option in his deal that would allow him to be placed on a practice squad either.
I doubt it.
So he'd get picked up on waivers real quick.
Real quick.
That's the thing. You got to push somebody through waivers to put him on a
Record-breaking
practice
time.
squad.
You fighting over.
Interesting. 615-737-1045. Alton, we mentioned the OC for the Broncos last year. Ryan Harris, host of a radio show in Denver, will join us in a couple of minutes. Get his thoughts on that. This, to me, is one of the more exciting hires the Titans have made this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
The radar goes up because it's an outsider who hasn't worked with Mike Vrabel before.
And his title being run game coordinator, if Derek's still here, I can't wait to see what that looks like. If it's just zone up the middle, power up the middle, then that they can miss me with the titles from here on out. If you bring it in the outside run game coordinator, it needs to look a lot different than what we've seen because it's been very predictable.
You also have to look at it as it's probably something that he's going to be focused on the guys that are behind Derek. I mean, specifically Hassan Haskins, the future of molding him a little bit because we just don't know how long Derek's going to be here. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're guessing he's here next year, but after that, I don't know.
Nobody knows. But that also lends the idea, well, how deep in conversation are they about planning for the future, too? Like, Rand's, interest into that building is very interesting of what's next.
Mm-hmm.
Goes back to, are you building an offense around Derrick Henry because you have Derrick Henry?
Right.
Or because that's the way Mike Vrabel wants to win?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
I think we get a clearer answer to that.
To be determined.
Based on the succession plan behind Derrick that's put in motion either this year or next.
Yep.
Yes.
Let's go to Brian in Shelbyville up next on the phone, 615-737-1045. Hey, Brian.
Morning, guys. How are y'all?
Good morning.
I know it's far-fetched, but I would enjoy nothing more than to stick it to those birds of the AFC North. I'm still bitter about when they took Aaron McNair from us. I want Lamar. Go get Lamar. Pay the man. I'll chip in. I'll give my own money.
Oh, wow.
To get this man here. Lamar, Derrick Henry in the backfield. Come get us. Come get us.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you, Brian.
You better go to the bank there.
Let's
go through the stars you'd have to cut to make that happen. Derrick Henry's gone.
Yep.
Jeffrey Simmons is probably gone. Kevin Byard's probably gone. Zach Cunningham, Bud Dupree, Taylor Lewan, and then you might have enough just to pay Lamar. Who's going to block for him?
I mean, as agile as he is, you ain't got to block for Lamar. That's the only thing.
Sorry.
That's all I got for you. Like you said earlier, you got McDonald's at home, and it's Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with these young quarterbacks. Will a deal be in place? But understanding how Rand operates as opposed to the last guy, I'd almost think you want more stability at these positions moving forward than you actually do listen to what the media says. That's one thing I have personally said about how John Robinson seems to have approached stuff is it was emotional.
Mm-hmm.
It was his heart was on his sleeve with how he dealt with it. And if he was hearing outside chatter, he listened probably more than others. That's my opinion, and I've said that before, and it kind of shows a little bit at times.
You know what's kind of ironic about wanting Lamar Jackson on the Titans?
What's that?
Getting rid of a quarterback who had 3 turnovers that lost you a playoff game for another quarterback who had 3 turnovers and lost a playoff game to the Titans.
Yeah.
2 interceptions and a fumble, and Jarrell Casey's final act as a Titan to force a fumble from Lamar that cost them that game. It's what won the Titans a 2020 playoff game in Baltimore was Lamar Jackson's 3 turnovers.
That's true. That's when they stomped
As
on
a
the
1
logo.
seed, by the way.
Yeah.
That was not the logo game. Logo game was the 2020 season.
That was the
logo game.
The logo, as in like when they meet at the logo in every game. That was one of the worst fake outrage moments I've seen in football in quite some time. Blake in Nashville finishes us off before we go to break and get to Ryan Harris on the other side. What's up, Blake?
What up, y'all? Yeah, man. Let's just keep promoting that the Titans need mediocre quarterbacks to win Super Bowls or to win football games. Let's just keep doing that, man. I mean, that's what the Titans want y'all to do too. So just keep promoting it.
Who you want?
Blake,
who do you
who's
want?
better than that's available? Hit me. Enlighten me.
And make it make sense.
I'm not picking Derek Carr. If I had to pick out of all of them,
Okay.
I'd pick probably Lamar or Aaron Rodgers. But Derek Carr is better than Tannehill.
But how do you make it?
numbers are
How do
better.
you make it though possible with the amount of money? I mean, the Titans are in cap hell.
You cut the players because you need a quarterback to win in the NFL, and everyone knows that. That's why the Titans have never won a Super Bowl. If you go back to the Super Bowl that we were in, McNair threw for 40 yards in the whole first half. They should have stomped us. We talk about the 1 yard, but they kicked 13 field goals in the first half.
Okay, so with Lamar and Aaron Rodgers, where's the money coming from? Who are you willing to cut also? Because you are over the cap.
Kevin Byard's getting old.
Oh, okay,
Kevin
so
Byard's
Byard's
getting
But Aaron
out.
Rodgers is old.
Okay,
Okay, but Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback.
Byard is out. Who else is out?
Cut. The only one they need to keep is Jeffrey Simmons.
So that
Derrick
means no
Henry's getting
safety.
old.
That
They
means
done ruined Derrick Henry.
So who's Lamar Jackson going to throw to in your hypothetical Lamar Jackson Titans
Traylon
offense?
Burks, we just drafted him first round. First round. They got Okonkwo.
And who else is out there for him?
Okonkwo.
Because that's one.
I
Okay,
just told you. Okonkwo's the next. Delaney
Chig and
Walker.
Traylon, I'm with you. Chig and Traylon, that's 2. You know how quickly defenses will lock those guys down? Like they did this past year because
they?
you had nobody
Will
else.
they?
Yes, they
They
did.
lost 7 games in a
That's an
row. Yeah, they
opinion.
were locked down.
That's an opinion.
No, that's
an opinion.
facts. That actually happened. Traylon only had 2 games with 200 yards.
Blake
and
left.
like maybe a little bit more. This makes 0 sense to me. You go get a guy that's going to cost you $50 million and another one that's $47 million, if not more himself. And then you cut Byard. Okay, fine. Somebody's going to pick him up real quick. Who do you have on the defensive end that's not going to get burnt by other opposing offenses if that's the case? You cut Byard, your defense is even more exposed. On top of you trying to keep Jeff too? Like, legitimately, none of this makes sense. It's the idea that you can go get these guys because they say they're available. They're not available to your team in this capacity. They're just not. This has got to be one of the silliest things ever when you talk about the management of a team. You have no protection. You cut a star player in Byard, an all-pro guy. You want to be able to still pay Jeff. You got a second-year right tackle coming back this year with nobody else in front of him. Derek is also aging, so you want to cut Derek too? Okay, fine. You replace him with a young guy with no offensive line. Again, you're in the same situation. You also need a middle linebacker or 2. You also need another corner on the other side of it, along with more replacement D linemen. Also, the quarterback conversation to me is, unless you're going to get another middle-of-the-road guy after cutting Tannehill, you're getting the exact same guy. The superstar guy will have to be brought in-house, meaning through the draft or developed or surrounded by.
Yeah, it's easy to play Madden NFL Xbox general manager games, but this is the real world.
And one more point about, because I was just trying to make the point about specifically Aaron Rodgers. Like, this guy is going to retire soon. Like, he is not sticking around for much longer. So you're going to just then put your your franchise back even more because he's going to retire in a year or 2, and you don't even know what he's really going to offer you. I mean, he's a heck of a quarterback. We know that. But look what happened in Green Bay last year. Was he that great? No.
He had a worse quarterback rating
I'd
than
rather
Ryan
keep
Tannehill.
Ryan Tannehill this year and find a way to go get a young quarterback to build around next year.
That's right.
And the idea that the Titans want us to push a certain
Yeah,
guy
it's
through.
ludicrous.
I have yet to talk
No
to
way.
anybody on the PR side. Players, barely. I may text Bud here or there because I don't want any involvement in my job. So to say they're funneling us any information ever. Kayla, your day-to-day.
Absolutely not.
Will, your day-to-day.
Nope.
The conversation of what quarterbacks, well, that's because that's all available to you is a Derek Carr, is maybe a young rookie. You having the ability to go get a Aaron Rodgers, draw it up for me.
Coming up next, Ryan Harris, former Broncos lineman and Super Bowl champion, tells us what the Titans are getting in their new run game coordinator and running backs coach, Justin Alton. We'll get his perspective on what changed in Denver when he took over play calling duties. Coming up next on our Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Finding value is important all the time. Yeah, tell me about that one. But especially these days, and that's why I'm so confident in recommending Genesis Diamonds. Value is the core principle that Genesis was founded on. The owner is a former diamond wholesaler who used to sell diamonds to upscale jewelry stores, but he hated how much they marked up the prices when they sold them to their customers. So he cut them out, and he started selling directly to the public at fair and honest prices that eliminated the traditional fat retail profit margins. That direct importer advantage still applies at Genesis Diamonds. That's why they beat everyone else's prices on GIA certified diamonds. But it's more than just the price, too. At Genesis, you get a higher quality diamond with the best coat for maximum brilliance, no commission salespeople, a personal relaxed shopping experience, and free service for life on any purchase. You can also get the best rings money can buy from the top designers in America. They are handcrafted, American-made diamond rings from the most sought-after designers, names like Tacori and Verragio and many more. So this year, as you think about getting engaged or celebrating a milestone of any kind, remember Genesis Diamonds. Best selection, highest quality, guaranteed best value, and a locally owned company with amazing international connections. Genesis Diamonds, located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Happy Wednesday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. And coming up, talking RBs with our RB, running backs with Rhett Bryan at 9 a.m. and beyond, the fourth and final hour of the show. Hoping to talk with Ryan Harris, former Broncos offensive lineman, coming up here in just a couple of minutes as we get his thoughts on the Titans' newest running backs coach, Justin Alton. With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. And in the meantime, we go back to the phones where Tyler is in Nashville weighing in on the Titans quarterback discussion. Good morning, Tyler.
Morning.
Morning.
So I think a lot of us know that the whole going to get Lamar or going to get a Derek, it's just not in the cards. Most people know that we just don't have the money for something like that. So I just wanted to weigh in on what do you guys thought about maybe somebody like Cooper Rush. I know he might be mediocre, but look what he did last season whenever Dak was hurt.
Yeah,
For sure.
Thanks for the call, Tyler. I think the issue with backups like that is you're going to pay more of a premium price based off of somebody's inflated value on a couple of games.
Yeah.
Which is not going to be sustainable over an entire season and probably not worth the dollar amount you're going to have to pay in order to get them for an entire season.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with, like, this team. I think this team, honestly, although nobody's going to say it, the reshaping, rebuilding, reloading, restarting this team is honestly where it's at. Like, going to get a Cooper Rush, too, what good is a Cooper Rush if you have no ability to protect him either? What good is a Cooper Rush if he's also got to change offenses again also? You know what I'm saying? Like, the best-case scenario for this team moving forward is probably Ryan Tannehill and also be in a position to where you can set up and stack a team. Because I think that's the biggest detriment to where the Titans are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a strong team. Like,
you got to start getting the pieces around.
Yeah, this is going to be a process, I think. Like, and I don't think we want to realize that just yet because you didn't suck. You had a bad skid of losing 7 games. You didn't have a trash season. You were 7-2 at one point. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the reality of it, too. And then it all fell apart because you didn't have the personnel to match up with everybody else as they got stronger. I don't think it was a coaching issue. I think, of course, Todd Downing not being able to drum it up the way he needed to for the rest of the season to be creative and work with what was in front of you, that was a deficiency. It really was.
It's almost like there were too many messes to be cleaned up, and this is the spot you're in.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's exactly
right?
what it was.
Right?
Yeah,
Jeez.
I totally agree. And I honestly think, too, if you're going to go with a backup quarterback to compete with somebody young, you'd probably just go with Josh Dobbs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think you're more likely to go after Dobbs than you are at Cooper Rush. The guy I always think of, Kayla, and the Seahawks went through this about 11 years ago, was when Matt Flynn came in the final game of the season for the Packers in, that was 2011? 2012. On New Year's Day of 2012, the 2011 season, Matt Flynn started the final game of the year against the Lions, threw for 480 yards and 6 touchdowns, and then got signed to a 3-year, $20.5 million deal the next season with Seattle.
Yeah, I do remember this.
To compete with Tavares Jackson and Russell Wilson for the starting quarterback job. And then when Wilson won the job, he was expendable. Then goes to the Raiders. Same exact thing. Competes with Terrell Pryor. Oh, that's a name.
Ooh.
And 4th-round pick Tyler Wilson for that job. Nothing happens. Goes to Buffalo the next year. Works out with the Bills. And starting quarterback E.J. Manuel, another throwback name from
oh, my gosh.
bad first-round quarterback lore or bad quarterback lore. Essentially, that is what you would get if you try to go with like a Cooper Rush kind of guy. Like, you're going to pay an inflated number for a guy that's really only giving you like a 3 or 4 game sample size of good sustained quarterback play in one season.
It's definitely a gamble in terms for the Titans at least. You can't, again, you just can't take.
Yeah. Not at this point. No. And again, to our guy that called earlier, like, yeah, you still got to pay Jeff. You know, like, it's that too. And what about Nate's situation and Brewer's exclusive free agent? Like, there's a lot of moves that's got to be made before you start having that deeper conversation. And I think to Rand's point when he first came in, it was like it's fair to assess Ryan after watching him for a while before deciding to move on from a guy like that. You know?
And I think the interesting part of that too, that you can take a step further and say, what's more important to the long-term future of the Titans on offense when you talk about building around a running back.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan Tannehill threw for like 88 yards against the Ravens in a 2020 playoff game that you won.
Yeah.
Is it really worth spending big money on a quarterback in an offense that's going to continue to be built around a running back?
I think that's the biggest point. I think that's the biggest point.
And we could have the conversation of whether or not the offense should still be built around a running back, but right now it is.
It is. And this is the thing, too. We saw two teams in the Super Bowl, a tale of two halves, right?
Yep.
Philly owned the running game first half, and Kansas City did, too. So the run game is very much important in today's NFL and all ball.
But it can't just work around one guy.
Exactly.
Well, we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline to Denver, where former Broncos lineman and Super Bowl champion Ryan Harris, kind enough to give us a couple of minutes this morning. Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. What's up, Brother Ramon? How you living, man?
Man, if I was Ryan Harris, I'd be a whole lot better, man. That's all I know.
Oh, get out of here, man. Selling lies on the airwaves. What's up, everybody?
What's up?
Ryan, we appreciate the time, man. And I want to start with the hire the Titans made official yesterday in former Broncos OC Justin Alton, who is officially the run game coordinator and running backs coach here in Tennessee. What are the Titans getting in Justin Alton?
They're getting an experienced run game developer who's had success with different running backs everywhere he's been. He's really had some of the best tutelage in the NFL as it comes to kind of young up-and-coming coordinators. He's really fun to talk to. He looks just like Coach Beard from Ted Lasso, and he likes tattoos.
No doubt. Ryan, when you look at a guy like himself, man, what do you think, in your opinion, was it separating him taking this job as run game coordinator to actually being in a position where he, didn't actually get one of those offensive coordinator jobs, Ryan? What was the separator, you think?
I just think it's controlled by head coaches. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, when he came to Denver, made it clear he was going to be calling the plays, so the offensive coordinator needed other duties. And Ramon, you and I know how many coaches will not give away control because they believe they have the better expertise. I think Justin Alton's been caught in that, and this is going to be a great opportunity for him to learn not only what you can do with the run game, but what you can do with big-time players and try and take some pressure off the passing game, as well as the added challenge of seeing if you can create some plays in an offense for Malik Willis. So he is very understated, underrated, and I think he's going to be coaching in the NFL for a long, long time. And he keeps his head down and works hard, and that's just why he hasn't gotten that, hey, I want this offensive coordinator job where I can call the plays.
And, Ron, that's very interesting because you won a Super Bowl with a Peyton Manning type, right, that gets he gets the praise for being a thrower. But a good bit of that year, y'all were running the ball and ran the ball well. Am I correct?
That's absolutely right. Yeah, we were about a yard away from being top 10 in rushing. And too, Ramon, it's not just about, hey, this is what we want to do, but the timing of the run plays is so important, especially if you have a West Coast style offense. The setup of the run might come from the play action pass 2 plays earlier. So Justin Alton's learned from all the greats who have done it, learned in Atlanta, learned at Green Bay, and had some opportunity in Denver, and now he's going to have a great one in Tennessee, which to me it's make or break year for the Tennessee Titans.
So that's where I'm going, bringing in the guy. And by the way, it's Alton, not Alton.
Justin Alton, yeah.
Alton.
Yeah, Justin Alton. Yeah.
Okay, all right, for sure. I thought you threw a little twang on there real quick, Ron. But speak on the importance of the run game to your point you just made a second ago about it's not necessarily giving the ball to Derek 30 reps a game. It's about where and how you run the ball because it's very much important in today's NFL, even though the quarterbacks get the most praise.
I'm not going to explain it. I'll let Andy Reid and the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, who outrushed versus their pass and their offense, tell you exactly what happens. You win Super Bowls. I mean, here's Andy Reid, who's got Patrick Mahomes, and they ran the ball more than they passed the ball, and they won the Super Bowl. And conversely, the Philadelphia Eagles were unable to run the football outside of Jalen Hurts, and that's what killed them. So you have to be able not only to run the ball, but to understand that timing of, hey, it's maybe we're down 7 points, but this is still early in the second quarter. We have time to not only get the ball downfield, but by the way, we're getting the ball in the third quarter. We're running the ball. you have the lead in the third quarter, halfway through the third quarter, and instead of just passing the ball away, you run the ball. I mean, these are why a majority of coaches in college are going to stay in college, because they get, these wild ideas to throw it when they really should be running the football. So the Chiefs proved the example, and that's the most recent game we can point to where the run game really actually dictates whether or not you win a football game.
Ryan, you had mentioned, this is a crucial year for the Titans, and we had mentioned before you came on that unfortunately they're cleaning up so many little messes. It's like, where do you start? So where do you start?
Well, I think you did get a good start with firing the GM this year.
Okay.
I mean, that guy traded A.J. Brown. He should never have a job again. Let's be clear, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. So you need to get a backup quarterback that can win you games. I think Tennessee has missed the glaring point that you need a quality backup quarterback to help you win to get to the playoffs. You cannot count on the health of a quarterback for 17 games. The year we won the Super Bowl, we had Brock Osweiler come in, go 5-2. And be a big reason why we got home field advantage over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hey, man.
So you got to get a quality person in there. I mean, to the point where maybe you're paying two guys. Who knows? But you need a quality backup, because last year the Titans had a great chance at being successful and going deep into the playoffs. And unfortunately, they just did not have a quarterback who could lead the way and actually win some big-time games.
They also don't have an offensive line. Like most of the season, it's a makeshift offensive line because there's been so many injuries. And then you go back to John Robinson again, having a bust, and then having Dylan Radins in the second round, who hasn't come to be a starter at all at this point. So what do you do with this offensive line that needs to be pretty much redone?
Well, if they want to get Ramon Foster, I'll be his agent. It'll be $15 million a year, okay?
Right?
Because he could do it. It'll be $15 million a year. But they need to get a nasty veteran. They need to get an old school nasty dog who doesn't care to make friends and is gonna spit in somebody's milkshake, because that's what you need to be a great offensive line. And Ramon had that for many years, and we had that together when we were in Pittsburgh, but you need a nasty veteran, and then you need two young cats that don't know any better, and they're just going to do what they're told. And you get three players like that on that offensive line, you'll be successful.
Former Broncos offensive lineman and Super Bowl champ Ryan Harris, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ryan, on the way out, what was the biggest thing that changed when Justin Alton did take over play calling duties in those last few games for Denver?
They had sparks. They had the ability to run the ball with backup running backs. They had a backup running backs catch a touchdown in the first week they arrived. Latavius Murray looks like he could play another 3 years. Some people forgot he was in the league. And he did that all with three backup offensive linemen starting. So that's how Justin Alton can really scheme up the game and give his players a chance. And guys love being around him.
Like the sound of that.
You're better than this. You know that? You didn't have to come on here and drop two bombs like that, man. You're
Let's get him on again here soon.
Yeah, hey, great to talk to you, brother. You know I love you.
No, it wasn't.
You went and spit in his milkshake just now.
Hey, see, me. That's just a little taste for you guys.
There we go.
I was like a snot rocket to the milkshake.
Right?
Can't let it go.
Get a nasty veteran like Ryan Harris is what I'm hearing for the Titans right now.
Yeah, but speaking of nasty, Ryan almost lost a leg with us and still played a game too.
My goodness.
He played a game with an open wound. When you speak about like sacrifices, Ryan, how close were you to losing your leg?
2 hours.
Oh, my
2 hours
God.
losing my left leg under my knee. But, Ramon wouldn't let me leave the sideline, so I had to play. I had to play. And we had to beat the Kansas City Chiefs to let them know. We had to do it. We had to do it, Ramon.
We did, man. You played a heck of a game. Dog, I'll never forget that, not realizing, what was it, MRSA, like that close to the bone, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I had a staph infection, and, it had been let run its course through the week, and then we got to the game, and they were like, hey, you got to go to the hospital after the game. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So after we played the 3 quarters of the game, we beat the brakes off the Chiefs, and then they wanted to get me a ambulance ride to the hospital. I was like, I know how this goes. I'm going to stop and get a pizza first. I'm going to eat something after this.
Wow.
Oh, gosh. Unbelievable. Well, we're going to need to talk to you again in this offseason, Ryan, and dive more into that story.
Ryan.
That's unbelievable.
Oh.
See, Ramon, hey, don't be putting the attention on me like that, Ramon. See, look at you, man. That's a wily vet right there. Thanks so much.
I love it, Ron. Love you, brother. Stay safe,
Ryan
man.
Harris, our guest, Super Bowl champ for the Denver Broncos, giving us a couple minutes here. Ryan, thanks so much.
That was good.
All right,
man.
there's Ryan Harris. That's
Good stuff. I like some of his takes.
Yeah,
Woo.
I do too.
He's good.
I think
like
people, correct me if I'm wrong, people would be surprised at how many of those close calls really happen that nobody ever knows about in the NFL.
As far as health-wise, oh my gosh. You have no idea. And, like, we knew Ryan's situation was kind of messed up because it was so open of a wound.
Oh, God.
Well,
Ooh.
yeah, the sacrifice. This is why guys get emotional. Yeah.
Speaking of open wounds, A.J. Brown went on a podcast.
That's fresh.
It's a fresh wound.
That's raw.
It's been opened again.
That's raw.
Coming up next.
Give credit.
Yeah, raw.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Window Nation. And Window Nation has the coolest deal ever for keeping you warm or cool right now, too, where you pay $0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. That's 2 years. Yes, 24 months is 2 years. Add that up. Yes, but no interest. That's the point of it all. Plus, you'll get 2 free windows with every 2 you buy with no limit. Take advantage of Window Nation's deep discount while reinvesting in your biggest asset, not to mention the energy savings for years to come. You can call them at 866-90Nation or go online at windownation.com. And are your windows leaking? That's how you need to know that if you need new windows. That can cause serious structural damage to your home and cause mold to grow. Leaky windows can allow mold to grow inside your home completely unnoticed, and now is the time to get those replaced with Window Nation windows. And weather impacts your window too. We've had hot, we've had cold, we've had rain, we've had snow, we've had ice, everything you can think of. But hot days and cold nights can cause caulk to crack and seal failure and condensation. And Window Nation only uses top-of-the-line materials, including mold spray and quad max sealing. Toughest against all weather conditions. If you need new windows or considering an upgrade in your house, call 866-90Nation or go online at windownation.com.
It's about Kayla and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. It's a bonfire. Turn the lights out. Childish Gambino on a Wednesday morning. You wouldn't expect me to listen to this song as much as I do, but I think it's made my top 100 songs played in like 3 years in a row.
Get you going.
Really good song. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you. What also got the people going was A.J. Brown yesterday on the Raw Room podcast with Darren Bates. Appreciate those guys. They're friends of the show. Doing a good job.
I've gone on.
Yeah, you've gone on their show, so they're friends of the show.
It's very much interesting.
A.J. Brown had this to say of all the things we want to pick out from this, and there's tons of nuggets about the contract timeline, about what the Titans were or weren't willing to pay A.J. Brown, some tampering, potentially, from the Philadelphia Eagles before he was traded. I think this is really interesting, his relationship with Mike Vrabel through this contract situation. Here is A.J. Brown on the Raw Room podcast.
He says, you okay with all this trade talk and stuff? It's nonsense as far as I'm concerned. And I said, nothing I'm used to. First time dealing with the trade talk and contract talk. I know a lot of things has to happen in the next couple of months. I want to be here. I know it's a business and anything can happen. It's all in y'all hands at this point. He responds back, we aren't trading you, but I would tell you, just from my personal experience as a player, as a coach, you need to be prepared to have patience, which was some advice he gave me, you know what I'm saying, which I can respect.
Good advice.
You know what I'm saying? He was like, just keep doing everything you can do to prepare. And on all the other stuff, and it will take care of itself. I promise you. Let's visit again tomorrow. So I go in, I chop it up with him. That's when he was like, as long as I'm the head coach, he's not going nowhere.
And there's A.J. Brown on Raw Room with Darren Bates and those guys talking about his conversation with Mike Vrabel, which essentially confirms what we knew.
Yes.
That Mike Vrabel was of the opinion that A.J. Brown should still be a Tennessee Titan at that point. I think it also just gives us more insight into how Mike Vrabel relates to his players in general.
Yeah, it does. It also gives you the answers to why Vrabel got up on draft night.
Exactly. And made that awful look.
And John just sat there with his, just like, whew, okay, done. And Vrabel's like, you don't understand what you just did. Hearing him and Vrabel's relationship, to me, is real telling about where Vrabel wanted this team to go a little bit, and maybe where John just either didn't listen to him, and now here we are. I mean, Ryan Harris just said that. This is an outside guy. Like, when he dropped that, I was like, whoa, Ryan Harris, you just an outsider who follows another team, covers another team. It's like John Robinson shouldn't have a job because he traded A.J. Brown away. I think that's the biggest take from all of this is not many GMs. We know one would have traded A.J. Brown away.
I think the more and more we dissect the last few years and just the decisions that came back to kind of haunt John Robinson, the more and more you realize why that had to be made in terms of him being let go by Amy Adams Strunk. Because you're just, time after time, we keep on bringing up situations that they're in now, and it's due to the decisions that were made. And when A.J. Brown goes on the Raw Room podcast and also says, I still have a really good relationship with Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
You know, it clearly wasn't Mike like saying, hey, yeah, let him go.
It's so many nuggets, though. It is. Like, where are you at with it?
I think it's interesting because it just gives us more insight into Vrabel's relationship with the players. I think this other piece of audio interesting, too, about who A.J. Brown did not talk to through the process, the general manager.
So this whole time, I ain't heard you say nothing but you talking to J-Rob, though.
Oh, I never talked to J-Rob.
And that's when I feel like you should have known right there. If Vrabel telling me this,
I never talked to J-Rob.
He ain't trying to talk to me at all.
Nah, I never.
He already got it made up in his mind.
I never talked to J-Rob. And people are saying, like, you got the GM fired. I don't like, listen, I don't know why he got fired.
Got himself fired. It ain't had nothing to do with you doing it.
He got himself fired.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I think it was just on, like, a couple of decisions before that, too.
Yeah.
A couple players before that, you know what I'm saying? A couple misses, drought.
Yeah.
So there's Darren Bates, Jalen Collins, Alex Sweet on Raw Room with A.J. Brown, their most recent episode. And look, it's interesting. I still think we don't get the whole story by just getting A.J.'s perspective.
Right.
But we've heard a little bit of John's perspective through this, and I think the vibe from the organization was that A.J. wasn't willing to have a conversation about lowering his number, and as soon as he wouldn't lower his number, there was no communication at all.
Yes.
But we're getting a lot of details that are starting to line up a little bit.
They are starting to line up.
And I think what we know for certain now is that Mike Vrabel wanted A.J. Brown to still be a Tennessee Titan.
Yeah.
I think there's not a lot we can certainly definitively say out of that entire situation. I think that's one of the certainties that we know.
And he went on the NFL Network and also did say that as long as I'm head coach,
He did.
A.J. Brown, I don't foresee him being traded.
It
So,
also lets you know where players are inside
Yeah.
the Titans locker room, too. A.J. saying there's other players that he missed
he
or
brought
didn't
that,
get.
yes.
He brought that up.
He knew.
Like,
Other guys know.
He saw Isaiah Wilson not,
Yeah.
I
play
know.
anything else but special teams.
But then I'm listening to other parts of it too, and I get AJ. AJ did go personal, and I'm gonna side with AJ right here by saying he has the right to. If it's correct, and it seemed like those were the rumors at that time of the year too, that they offered him 16 with incentives up to 20, I'd be ticked off too.
That you don't even budge.
16 for a wide receiver of AJ caliber, that's a number 2 wide
Yep.
receiver, y'all.
Coming up next, Rhett Bryan joins us. Talk some running backs with Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio. The 10 guys to look at in this class, starting with the 2 first-round grades, and then the receiving backs behind them, one of whom we've already discussed in Tulane's Tajay Spears, Syracuse's Sean Tucker, Eric Gray, former Tennessee running back. Lots of options for the Titans on day 2 and 3 at this position to complement Derrick Henry. Rhett Bryan joins us on the other side. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
I am joined now by our good friend Dean Glasscock of Arbor Art Tree and Shrub, your expert in trees and shrubs right here in Middle Tennessee. Dean, you guys do it all. Tell us about the Full Service Tree Company.
That's right. First of all, I want everybody to understand we're a member of the Tree Care Industry Association, have been for 25 years at least now, and we're an accredited company. And what does that mean? That means that we have integrity and ethics, and we do what's right. We're very transparent, and we tell you the truth about your trees. A lot of guys will come in and try to scare you and use scare tactics to tell you to remove trees. If you're not sure and you don't really want to lose a tree and you're not sure about it, call us, 299-9999. Certified arborists on staff. There's 3 of us there. We know what we're doing. We've been doing it a long time, 29 years in the business, 615-299-9999. So we can help you with your mature trees. We can help you with your shrubs around your home with our 7-app program. We do all kinds of things like pre-site construction plans as well. Before you build around a tree, you need to call us. So again, 615-299-9999. That's all I got. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.
You heard him, Dean and his crew. They are the experts at Arbor Art Tree and Shrub. Check them out online at arborart.net. And like Dean said, you can call them as well at 615-299-9999. That's Arbor Art Tree and Shrub.
9:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Tennessee's struggles continue on the hardwood, losing last night at Texas A&M 68-63. The Aggies went 28 of 34 from the free throw line. Santiago Vescovi, Sakai Ziegler each had 14 points. The Vols have lost 5 of their last 7 games. Alabama freshman Brandon Miller brought a teammate the handgun that was used to kill a woman last month. That's according to police in Tuscaloosa. Detective testified in a preliminary hearing yesterday that Miller provided Darius Miles with Miles's gun. Miles faces capital murder charges. Miller will not be charged. Alabama's Nate Oats said yesterday that the school had been aware of Miller's alleged link to the case. Titans officially announced the hiring of Justin Alton as their running game coordinator yesterday. Niners quarterback Brock Purdy scheduled to have surgery on his right elbow. That's being delayed until inflammation and swelling goes down so they can fix that torn UCL in that right elbow. To the ice, Bridgestone Arena, Nashville defeated Vancouver 5-4 in a shootout. The Preds lost a 4-2 lead, but able to win following overtime and that shootout. Number 3, Tennessee defeated Alabama A&M 10-0 in 8 innings to win their home opener in college baseball. Number 10, Vanderbilt, not as lucky, lost at Hawkins Field in their home opener to Central Arkansas 5-4. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
And the show goes on into hour number 4, Wednesday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, with our 11-year NFL veteran, offensive line enthusiast, and big man advocate, Ramon Foster.
Always.
With our capitalized J journalist broadcast veteran, Kayla Anderson, and the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer. I'm Will Bowling, and we begin hour number 4, as we do every Wednesday, with the executive producer of Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan, presented as always by our friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans. And Rhett, it is RBs with our RB today. Talking running backs. How are you?
I'm good. How's everybody? The crew's back together now, right?
We are. We are whole once again. That is right.
Excellent.
Rhett, I wanted to first start, before we get into draft running backs, with the new running backs coach here for the Tennessee Titans. Justin Alton's hire becoming official yesterday. What's your biggest takeaway from just his resume and what the Titans are getting in him?
Well, I think the first thing is, after they let Nathaniel Hackett go as the head coach in Week 15, he became the offensive coordinator, and they saw their biggest output in points in those last 2 or 3 games than they really had all season in, what was an anemic offense, considering how much Nathaniel Hackett had prowess as a coordinator coming in. So that tells me there's something there, and certainly anybody's got any kind of resume in the league for a while like Alton does, I think he'll bring some things to the table, and this is a running backs group that now sees their longtime position coach in Tony Dews move to tight ends, which he's coached before. So there's change here, but I think I like what I see on paper, and I like what I saw in those last couple of games when the Broncos when he was the OC.
We had a conversation a second ago with Ron Harrison. He kind of brought that up a little bit when Will asked the question, what are you getting in him in those last games that he coached up? And he said creativity, for the most part, is like you're getting somebody to know how to draw up a game plan as far as the run game goes. And I want to know where you are as far as, Derek's age and having young guys behind him. There is a level of trying to change a little bit of what Derek does or run the ball to kind of extend him if that's what they want to do, correct?
Absolutely, and Ramon, here's the other part about this, and it's no secret that Derrick Henry every year of his career as a Titan has tried to improve his skills receiving out of the backfield, which he had a career year last year.
Yeah.
Now, that wasn't a ton of receptions and yards, but he clearly wants to do more because I think he views when people say he's just a two-down back, I think he takes that personally to a level, not, like his feelings hurt, but he takes it as a competitive, person that he is to improve and get better. And listen, the biggest thing with the evolution of the running back position, and we're going to dive into this, running backs aren't taken in the first round very often anymore. And because of 7-on-7 football, those type of skill positions are rich in talent. Now, there's some, you can call them elite. They haven't done anything at this level yet, but there's a couple of really good backs in the top of this draft. But there's a lot of really good value in the middle rounds, and that's where, Justin Alton is probably going to bring more of that third down receiving back phase to this offense.
Mm-hmm. And on the other side of that, Rhett, we've watched, of course, the Super Bowl and how that kind of thrusts, I think, really the importance of what the running game is to everybody. Is that something, Rhett, that you kind of expect most teams to dive into this year? As we've gotten, as we've heard Rand Carthon say, the Golden State era of football as far as being able to chuck it down the field. But do you think the big game really opened everybody's eyes up to say you better be able to control the ground game more?
Well, I don't know that it opened anybody's eyes, because anybody that's watched football or played it as long as you did knows that, defense and run game wins championships.
Yeah.
Now, yes, aerially, in an aerial attack, it doesn't hurt to have Patrick Mahomes in the case of the Kansas City Chiefs. But here's Isaiah Pacheco, a seventh-round pick, who, had some tough, aggressive yards. I mean, how many first downs did that guy run for in the playoffs, much less the Super Bowl? And you're talking about a guy who's, $798,000 is his bonus, his base salary. I mean, he made more in, extra game checks in the playoffs than he nearly did, as his rookie base salary. But yeah, I mean, you have to be able to move those chains in physical combat downs in this thing, because you come in there as just a passing, playing, Golden State Warriors basketball on grass, you're going to have somebody try to shut you down.
Yeah.
So we saw some of it at the Senior Bowl, of course, when we were all down there. Just some of the positions that are loaded this year. You got offensive line, tight ends, but I would argue running backs are right there. What did you kind of see just in the Senior Bowl in general?
Well, Kayla, I would agree, because now of all the young men who are at the Senior Bowl, I don't think there's anybody there that's going to be taken in round one on Thursday night of the draft. However, I see lots of picks that are probably late round two and really more round 3, 4, 5 in there, where the real value of this position in this draft is. But gosh, there's a lot of good resumes and good talent in this thing. The way it breaks down right now is obviously Bijan Robinson from the University of Texas is the top back. It would not surprise me at all to see him go in the middle of the first round. In fact, I see some mocks that have him going to the Eagles at 10, knowing that Miles Sanders is a free agent, and that would be, in my opinion, an upgrade. I like Miles Sanders, but Bijan Robinson is a hoss. The next back behind him is Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. Now, Jahmyr has a chance to sneak in at the bottom of the first round. I really think he'll probably be more of early night 2 and round 2. But from there on, in the next, 40, 50, 60 picks going into the third round. And so you've got Zach Charbonnet, the former Michigan Wolverine, who was, played for UCLA, who had a really nice career. Kenny McIntosh, who we saw at the Senior Bowl from Georgia. Tank Bigsby from Auburn. Chase Brown from Illinois, who we saw at the Senior Bowl. Roshan Johnson, wanted to see more of him. He's a guy that, he was Bijan Robinson's backup for 3 years, broke his hand after the first day of Senior Bowl practice. Really wanted to see more of him, because he was legit 6 feet, 225. Israel Abanikanda from Pitt is a guy who has my attention. He's somebody, obviously Vols fans know who this guy is from playing Pitt these last couple of years. And then there's some burners in this. Devon A-Chain from Texas A&M, he's the guy, if you're looking at fast 40 times in this thing, look at Devon A-Chain from Texas A&M, who is a legit Texas track guy. I think he had a 10.2-second 100-meter clock. So if you're looking for fast 40s, start looking at him.
Okay.
I'd even look at Malik Cunningham from Louisville, the quarterback that we saw down there in Mobile, who coincidentally was drafted in the USFL yesterday. I don't know that he'll go in the USFL. I think he's still going to be at the combine. But yeah, there's a load of talent in at this position, and we haven't even gotten to, Tajay Spears, who that was my crush down there from Tulane. But we haven't talked about Zach Evans. We haven't talked about Chris Rodriguez from Kentucky, Eric Gray from Oklahoma via UT. Muhammad Ibrahim from Minnesota is a nice back. Deuce Vaughn. There's another one you get ready to set your clock by from K-State. He's a little bitty guy like Darren Sproles, and reminds a lot of people of that because where they both played ball. But, just keep going through the list. Tavion Thomas, Tyon Evans, who was a former ball. He was a
Yep.
There is value throughout this thing, for the time it starts and the times it finishes. And I honestly, if I'm looking right now, pre-combine, I'm looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm looking at 10 backs to go in the first 3 rounds.
Wow.
And so, 1 to 2 in the first round, and then the rest in rounds 2 and 3. And so it's just one of those things where you can pick a guy up who can help you. Now, listen. Is there, an Adrian Peterson? Is there a Derrick Henry in this? No. But for what you're looking for, there is lots of value in what we've been talking about with a back who can run, be a 3-down asset in this and catch it out of the backfield. And in some cases, like Devon A-Chain, give you special teams value as a returner.
Right. A-Chain, who was 7th at the SEC track championships last year, running 10.25 for 100 meters, and has a wind-aided 10.04 100-meter dash.
There it is. And Will would know.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, he would.
Real number.
Not bad at all. Well, when we come back with Rhett Bryan, I want to get into the special teams component of this, because when you talk about Devon A-Chain, you talk about a running back from the Northeast, Syracuse's Sean Tucker as well. You talk about what Mike Vrabel mentions in getting faster. You've got some options at running back who would make the Tennessee Titans quite a bit faster. We'll get into that coming up next. Running backs with Rhett Bryan here on the Wednesday edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster for Secure Lawn. Let me tell you, right now is the time to start prepping for your spring and summertime grass. Look, the fertilization that you need, keeping some of those weeds out right now, because right now is the time to start applying crabgrass and broadleaf weed control to your lawn. And I have the people you need to call. They are Secure Lawn, because there's no one better. They've been serving Middle Tennessee for 20 years, and lawns is what they do, and they're good at it. If you need your grass cut, shrubs planted, trees trimmed, no, don't call Secure Lawn, because they want to make sure your grass is fighting off those weeds, making you look like the best house in the neighborhood, and making sure that you are comfortable knowing that anybody can go in your yard and say, hey, Ramon's got great grass, and you need to be the same way too. It's family owned and operated, it's local, and they don't make you sign any kind of contracts. In fact, if you are unhappy with the service that they provide you, they will do anything they can to make it right. And if you're still unhappy, they will give you your money back on your last treatment. And this is unheard of customer service. Secure Lawn offers free service calls, and if you need something in between treatments, they'll come back and treat it for free. Everything also that Secure Lawn uses is pet, kid, and environmentally friendly, so you don't have to worry about about dangerous chemicals hurting your families or your fur family either. They protect all types of grass and serve as residential, commercial, and even athletic fields. So get a head start on your yard and call Secure Lawn at 615-893-8455 or go to securelawn.com.
It's about Kayla and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. Our week-by-week draft prep continues with Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio, presented as always by our friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better rates, better coverage, and better service. That's why Tennesseans have been relying on Farm Bureau Health Plans for their health coverage for 75 years. And Rhett, talking about the running back position and specifically the guys that can help you on special teams, it feels like Devin Achane, who you mentioned from Texas A&M, is one of the special team stars in this class, which I would imagine is going to be a big plus for the Titans and many other teams.
Well, I mean, in this league, and you can ask Ramon, he's sitting right there, the more you can do, the more you know. And you know, especially when you get towards the bottom rounds of the draft, let's just say, you know, Devin Achane somehow goes in the 5th round. Well, the fact that he brings special teams value to that as a returner, you know, would justify him possibly hanging on to and earning a roster spot because he can help you in 2 different phases of the game. You know, and the more you think about running backs in this day and age, the smaller ones who have speed, obviously return specialist is what you get there. And then a specific change of pace back role until, you know, you can get into bigger and better things. But like you teased it before we went to break about Sean Tucker from Syracuse is another intriguing prospect who has a track background, as you pointed out. You know, he's a junior from Owens Mills, Maryland. He's 5'10", 205. He was a track champion in the 100 and 200 meter sprints in high school. He ran track at Syracuse. He had consecutive 1,000-yard rushing seasons in 21 and 22, and I think he set the single-season rushing record for Syracuse with almost 1,500 yards. And then you look at his stability in that role as a 3-year runner. He only had 3 fumbles in this thing, and every year had double-digit catches for some nice yardage out of the backfield. So, I mean, what you're looking at with this guy is an explosive runner who, if he hits the right step and makes a defender miss or can slip a tackle, he could take it to the house. He's a home run threat. The biggest knock on him right now is working on his pass protection, which he's going to need to do to help his quarterback out from time to time. But he's a more compact runner at 5'10", 205. But there's plenty of guys like this where you look at their resume and you're like, golly. Yeah. I mean, we saw all kinds of them in the SEC every week. But you forget about ones, you know, in a program like Syracuse who had a really nice year.
And Sean Tucker comes from Calvert Hall out of Maryland in high school, which is one of the premier athletic departments in the country just for high school athletics and national championship caliber, specifically in track and field. They beat us quite a few times whenever we saw them. But Rhett, shifting gears just a little bit to Tank Bigsby from Auburn, who you mentioned. I think it's interesting with him because you talk about getting a day 2 or 3 pick. He's not as strong of a wide receiver out of the backfield, but I just envision Tank Bigsby talking with Mike Vrabel and the lunch pail guy that he is. And I loved getting to meet him in Atlanta when 3HL was down there for SEC Media Days. This guy is as tough and violent of a runner as there was in the SEC last year.
Well, and you're talking about, again, a guy with track background.
Right.
You know, he lettered in track and field. He was a long jumper and sprinter in the 100 meter, the 4x100 meter relay, 400 meters. So you can see the explosion is there. But yeah, when you look at him on tape and you saw him play for the Auburn Tigers, you're looking at a guy that you would think that Mike Vrabel would really be have some things in common or get excited about because of his play style. He is a violent runner and has the ability to hurt you in his run style and with that track background. And you're right, he's one of those that he's not necessarily the receiving threat out of the back, but Tank Bigsby, yes, here's another guy who can help you, and you don't have to go to the top of the draft to get him. And it's funny, y'all, that we're talking about all these running backs because if I'm thinking correctly, All right, so Rand Carthon, here he is in the war room, his first NFL draft, his first off season to look at things. And, he's got a lot of work to do. And if we're looking at this the correct way, I would think that moves that he is going to make to get under the cap would happen this week at some point before he ever goes to Indianapolis, so that he can focus on Indianapolis and figure out the formula and the game plan from there. Now, what those cuts are and what those things are, I don't know. I feel like, Taylor DeWan is probably the first place that they relieve money, and then there's a handful of guys you can look at for other things. But when we're talking about these running backs, when I worked Monday on Buck's show with Lucas, we had callers kind of hinting at the fact that, something could happen to Derrick Henry, which absolutely it could when you look at what Derrick Henry is getting paid versus these young men that we're talking about that are draft eligible. And we mentioned it in the first segment with Isaiah Pacheco, who didn't even make $800,000 this year. He's got a Super Bowl ring. So when I've been saying publicly, prepare yourself for what could be a wild ride this offseason. There might be life after Derrick Henry in this case if things go the way I think they might. And then people are like, whoa, hey, hang on a second, Derrick Henry not a Titan? But there are other people who could use his services. I'm not saying he's done, but he will be 30 years old this time next year. And he knows he's not getting any younger, and he's an elite back, there's no question. But that's a place where you could save some money. And because he is still of some value, you could find a trade partner for him to get you something that you need. I mean, we talked about it last week. There's a place in Atlanta where Arthur Smith is the head coach, and they have money. And guess what you can get back from them that you got from the Julio Jones trade is get your fourth-round pick back. So, I mean, bigger picture, that's why these running backs are seriously something I'm looking at in this combine next week in Indianapolis, because there are so many people who can help you here. And like I said before, is there a Derrick Henry in this draft? No, there's not. Bijan Robinson is the best guy in this draft at the running back position because of what he can bring in all three downs. But there are so many other guys who aren't even won't be a first-round pick who can help you day one.
Rhett, man, you may have just dropped
I know.
the bomb
I was
right there.
I was just going to say, I think he convinced.
I
think he convinced me a little that might be the right decision. And there is no way that I was thinking we'd see Derrick leave, and we're not saying that's going to happen. But the more and more you speak of it, and you see the depth that's in this running backs class, you see that they have Hassan Haskins. The more I'm kind of like, wow, I guess it kind of makes sense.
Well, Kayla, at some point it comes down to the math in this thing.
Yeah.
We cap $224.8 million. We know roughly they're $21 million over. And yes, with a couple of moves, you can get under the cap, but you have to have operating expense. You have to sign your rookie draft class. And, I mean, Kayla, it's $12 million or less than $1 million. And at some point, the rubber meets the road in this case. And, we're going to lead up to, as we get closer to the draft, what I believe the most important positions of this Titans season is replacing as much as 4/5 of the starting offensive line. And so, because you have areas of need, or at least potential areas of need right now, you're going to have to look at some other ways to get creative in this. And look, do I want to see Derrick Henry go? Absolutely not. I love Derrick. He's a great dude. And my goodness, what explosive and exciting moments he's helped bring to this team, and put, the whole team on his shoulders at times to get wins. The level of respect is incredible. But the business part of this comes into this at some point.
Yes, it does, Rhett. Well, broken here first on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Rhett. Nah, I'm just playing, Rhett. I'm not going to gaslight him like that. I'm not going to do it.
Well, you got a lot of followers. You could hit one tweet there.
Right.
I'd have pitchforks and torches at my front door here.
No, but that's
because there's no doubt about it. I love Derrick Henry. Listen, he's fantastic, and I honestly believe he keeps carving out the numbers he's doing, he's going to find himself with a gold jacket at some point. That's how much respect I have for him. I don't want him to go. But the business part of this is what we're talking about.
And I think that's where you separate one from the other. You know, it's two sides of the NFL. There's the game, and there's always the business, right? And nobody ever, considers the heart in either one of those when you're having a business conversation, right?
No, they don't. And look, it's funny how I love to play fantasy football.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love to play Madden? But, those are fantasy and not reality. And it's funny how that, when you get callers and we get folks on social media who want to make moves just because they make them so easily in those two lanes of interest and having some fun. But when it gets to the real bottom line business of this, they have a hard time accepting that at the end of the day, it is just that. It is a business. Yes, it is the greatest sport in North America and record numbers of people watching on television, and it's fantastic. But at the end of the day, these are guys' jobs and livelihood on the line.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Rhett. And to that running back position, though, I think Isaiah Pacheco, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire also been one of those young guys, man, that helped the Kansas City team. You look at those and you say to yourself, like, running backs in the draft may be the one-off position to where, Rhett, to your point earlier, and you kind of mentioned, it doesn't matter how big or small a school a guy went to. If he checks some boxes decent enough in the passing game and is a good runner, like a guy like Dwayne McBride from UAB who didn't have a program a few years back, or to your point, Tajay Spears from Tulane. Like, those are two smaller school guys that will be draft picks for the NFL because the running back is a one-off position. Either you're good enough or you're not, and when you're not, you're out, Rhett B.
And it's just that simple. And look, how about, the former Vol and Oklahoma Sooner, Eric Gray, that we saw in Mobile that week. You don't think that guy can help you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a guy that looks the part. 100%. And even at Chris Rodriguez from Kentucky, who had a fantastic production at the University of Kentucky. But, you had Dwayne McBride from UAB. That might be a sleeper in all of this. But, you're right. If you're good enough, it doesn't matter where you played, they'll find you. Prime example, there is a pass rusher from Ferris State.
Ooh.
Oh, my.
Hockey powerhouse.
And invited to the combine. And Ferris State is a college up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And this guy that is invited to the combine, where is this guy? Caleb Murphy. Caleb Murphy is 6'5", 215. Which you can tell he's light in the rear end, being at 215 is that big. But there's something there or he would not be here. And first of all, he broke Matt Judon's NCAA sack record. He had 25.5 sacks last year. Now, that's big production in a small pond. But there's some length there and some skills and traits that somebody wants to see or he wouldn't be invited to Indianapolis. So there's your point right there, Ramon, is it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're good, and Matt Judon, he came out of those same kind of things. Where did he go, to Grand Valley State or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
He's a perennial Pro Bowler. I mean, he's a game wrecker. So you can find help in the NFL draft, and certainly the combine is the next big part of that. Now, here's why I bring up the scenario that I did with Derrick Henry. There's three things at the combine that happen. One, as a GM and a coach, you can look to face-to-face and talk to some of these kids and kind of get a peek at their personality.
Yeah.
Two, you get medical information to glean from them medically, having them checked out. Anything that is a problematic thing down the road, whether it's, somebody's got a shoulder that's nagging or they've had soft tissue, whatever. And then the other part is, this is where general managers talk to one another because they're all there together. And this is where the conversations begin about trades. Just like Ryan Poles, the general manager from the Bears, is going to have a lot of conversations this next week, because will he stay with Justin Fields or will he trade Justin Fields and take a quarterback of his own at one? Or so these kinds of things. And that's what I mean with Rand Carthon might start entertaining talks with someone about possibly trading some of the stars of this team to get back to where they need to be money-wise.
Absolutely right. Rhett Bryan, our guest here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Good info from Rhett B. Always good info from Rhett B. But setting the world ablaze a little bit this morning. We love it. Talking about the a busy week.
Yeah, and when I talk to you next week, it'll be from the Indianapolis Convention Center, home of the 2023 Combine, and we'll figure out what all the buzz of the week is at that point. Obviously, it'll be what guys' measurements are, hand sizes for quarterbacks, 40 times, all that good stuff. So I'm looking forward to it.
And home of the AFC South team that was swept by the Tennessee Titans.
The Indianapolis Colts.
And them as well. Yes, that's right. Rhett Bryan, our guest. Wednesdays here at Hour 4. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Rhett, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, Rhett.
All right, y'all have a good rest of the day and week. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Rhett Bryan, our guest. And coming up next, we'll react to a little bit of that. We'll get a little bit of midweek motivation.
A little bit.
Well, just a little bit.
A bit. That's necessary these days.
Skip the extra cup of coffee. Listen to Inky Johnson coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 104.5 The Zone.
If you have a wet basement or crawl space, it's time to call United Structural Systems. We've heard about these guys for a long time and for good reasons, and that's because they've served Middle Tennessee since 1994, and they've helped thousands of satisfied residential customers with that. They are the go-to company when it comes to foundation repair and waterproofing. And if you have a wet basement or crawl space, you don't have to put up with that. Water intrusion and moisture could give you all sorts of problems down the road, and you want to get this fixed. And it could be because you have poor drainage or surface water flooding over your walls or underwater pressure forcing water into your basement. Or it could be a plumbing leak. You just don't know. But the team at United Structural Systems will find out why you have a wet basement or crawl space and will give you a plan to fix it. And if you do decide to move forward with them, you don't pay a dime until the work is done and you are satisfied. So get that free estimate from the people I trust. Go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them 615-227-2275. United Structural Systems.
Finishing up the show, Wednesday edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bolding with you, and a larger discussion coming up tomorrow based on free agency cuts and what Rhett Bryan tells us that this may be the week that cuts begin for your Tennessee Titans.
You know what? Had someone ask in our chat about official business at the Combine. That's where all of it actually happens.
Oh, yeah.
Every executive is there. Every head coach is there. Every coordinator is there. Every agent, if you're somebody, is there. The conversation happens. Like the NFL speak about the early tampering. No, it starts at the Combine. Like legit, you get an idea of where your client market is, who wants to move on from certain players. So, yeah, I can see this being the setup for all of those types of moves. If we don't get it this week, we'll potentially get it next week in some type of capacity because they've had conversations.
Yeah, I think this is the time, and I know there could be some moves that people don't want to see that's going to be heartbreaking, but again, when it comes down to it, like we mentioned, like Rhett mentioned, it is a business, and business moves right now especially are going to happen.
For where this team is, they have to happen, Kayla, 100%. You don't want to be one of those bad teams that continue to reset and reshuffle. And no, you want stability, and this is a part of that stability too.
There are a lot of running backs in this class you could pair with Hassan Haskins and have a good run game. And you think about what Rand Carthon found on day 3 and Elijah Mitchell out of, Georgia State?
Yeah.
And for the San Francisco 49ers, you think of a Zach Charbonnet on day 2 who led the Pac-12 in rushing yards per game at 135 yards per game. You think of Devin A-Chain, who we mentioned, kind of a secondary piece. But what about Kendre Miller? Running back from TCU, won't turn 21 until June, who was a backup behind Zach Evans for 2 years for the Horned Frogs. Took over this past year, had 17 touchdowns and 1,400 yards.
Yeah.
Bigger guy.
That's a lot of production.
You've got some all-purpose backs in here that are well-rounded enough to just be set-it-and-forget-it starters. Those were PFF's exact words about Zach Charbonnet of UCLA. You can set it and forget it. He's your starter for 5 years at running back.
Yeah, and this is the thing, too, with the Derrick Henry attachment, man. You got to kind of almost look at it and say to yourself, well, what are you getting out of it? Because the guy earlier, we've ruined Derrick Henry's career years. No, you hadn't. This dude's been rushing champion for a few years. He's made All-Pro. He's made Hall of Fame numbers. He's got his jersey, cleats, helmet at the Hall of Fame right now. As far as being a record breaker, I look at this situation in the same way I'm sure Green Bay looks at Aaron Rodgers. What have we gotten out of it? Okay? That's the business side of it. What have you gotten out of it? Number 1 seed, what did that net? Winning the AFC South, how far did you go? At some point, the evolution of all teams, these type of decisions have to be made. The same way as Tyreek Hill is out of Kansas City. Find another one. And I think this team has a knack for finding another Derrick Henry. Not him, not Derrick Henry himself.
Right.
But similar production.
And guess what they also have a lot of now? A lot of new faces. A general manager who used to be a running back.
Yeah.
A new running backs coordinator.
Yeah.
There's some new ideas in there.
It sucks, but Kayla,
I know. It does.
The conversation.
But it's real.
And we said it towards the end of the season that when you lose as many as the Titans lost in a row and lose the AFC South to a division that's about to add 2 more young, dynamic quarterbacks, everything's on the table. And we don't have precedent of what Rand Carthon has done at previous stops as a GM to go off of.
No.
Which then further emphasizes the fact that we do mean everything is on the table.
Yep.
So
yes, it is. If Taylor can be gone and y'all called him daddy, Derrick Henry been called king, he could be gone too. This is the monster of the business. Not advocating for Derrick to get cut. I'm not at all. But if it makes a better situation for him career-wise, meaning Derrick can go to a better contender for himself, his career, then why not? What was the conversation yesterday? It was on TV. Derrick Henry be traded where and been instant? Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Jeff Darlington made that statement.
If you get a 4 or 5 for Derrick,
I think you probably get a little better.
I think you get a little better.
I'd be shocked if you got better. I put 20 in the middle of the table, say no better than 4.
Oh, you do better than us.
No, I'm just saying. You say 3.
serious.
No, I love the conversation. What are you getting
I would
for
say
him?
third.
You say third? Kayla, where are you at? About second or third?
I'd probably say third.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're one round off. That ain't bad.
Yeah.
4.
You got 4?
Yeah. You're hoping for 3.
I'm hoping for, boy, if you get a 3, that's stealing. For a running back his age and you got to take on the contract.
That's a fair
But if you're Buffalo
discussion.
and you're desperate for
That's
a
the
run
thing,
game.
though. Look at some of the money
That's fair.
that's dished
That's
out
fair.
for some of these guys that
That's
have
fair.
tread on the tires.
That's fair. If you're Buffalo and they're desperate, they are. They won't admit it, but they are. They need something.
They need that.
Yep.
Appreciate Tyler Dunne, Ryan Harris, Rhett Bryan, and always appreciate our guy Inky Johnson, who sends us home on a Wednesday morning show. We're back at it again tomorrow at 6 a.m. Coach Mac, B-Mac, Bryant McFadden tomorrow, much, much more. We close the show with our guy Inky Johnson sending us home with midweek motivation. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning.
Like, I feel like it comes along in organizations, it comes along in families, it comes along with teams, to where you have an individual or you have individuals and they have the capacity for the journey. Yeah. It's a lot of people that got the talent and the skill, but they don't have the capacity for the journey, right? What I mean by the capacity, the things that you have to face in order to sustain, to get to where you're trying to get to on the journey. Because life is always going to come back, right? You got a goal, you got a dream, you got an aspiration. You want to do something for your children, want to do something for your mother, you want to do something for your company. As soon as you put it out into the atmosphere or the world or the universe, life is always going to hit back. Yeah. Life is always going to punch back. Life always going to send you back them body blows just to see. Let me see how bad he wanted. Like you said, you want to pay for your kids' college? Cool, right? Multifamily months. Okay, cool. You say you want to do it? Let's see. I'm going to hit you. Let's see where you hit back, where you fight back. People are resilient, man. I tell people often, people are amazing, man. And more times than not, it's not that a person doesn't have what it takes. It's that sometimes you don't realize it's going to take everything you got.
Yeah, there we go, bro.
It's just going to, sometimes it's some things, it's just going to take everything you got. Tears, blood, sweat, cuts, it's just going to take everything you got.
Yeah.
And if you stop in the midst of the opposition and adversity, you'll never get to witness the greatness.
That's it, man.
The manifestation, right? Breaking generational curses. Yeah. You'll never get to witness that if you stop in the middle of the journey.